Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive #1, #2 employee. Leave a message at the... Hey, Jamie, it's me, Jamie. This is your daily pep talk. I know it's been rough going ever since people found out about your a cappella group, Mad Harmony, but you will bounce back. I mean, you're the guy always helping people find coverage options with the Name Your Price tool. It should be you giving me the pep talk. Now get out there, hit that high note, and take Mad Harmony all the way to nationals this year! Sorry, it's pitchy.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
That's Ruby Valley, Hooey Hollywood, where any office boy or young mechanic can be a panic with just a good-looking pan. And any barmaid can be a star maid if she dances with or without a plan. Hooray for Hollywood, where you're terrific if you're even good, where anyone at all from Shirley Temple to Amy Semple is equally understood. Go out and try your luck, you may be Donald Duck. Hooray for Hollywood.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Radulich and Broadcasting Network premiere podcast. This is Damn You Hollywood, and here's your host, Robert Winfrey. Yay!
Hello, everyone, and I've got to apologize right off the bat. I'm going to get this out of the way. This is going to be I don't know. I don't know how this is going to play out exactly, but as someone who goes out of their way to preach about objectivity and, you know, focusing on criticism based on merit rather than emotional response, when I struggle with that when talking about the Toy Story franchise. So there's a very real possibility, and I've worked very hard in the build-up to this recording to make sure I could fully articulate my issues, positive and negative, rather than just develop into another screaming voice about my feelings. But that's probably still going to come out a little bit, and I just wanted to apologize right off the bat because that is a little bit off-brand for me, but if you're interested in that, stick around. We are talking about Toy Story 4 this evening. The wonderful voice you heard introducing everyone was, of course, the mandated reporter and the human personification of a kick in the dick, apparently, Mark Radulich. How you doing, Mark?
Oh, I'm just fine. I'm currently on location at my in-laws' house, so I had to dig out my laptop from wherever it was buried underneath. I had to update it, put new programs on there, reload sound. So, you know, kind of rebuilding my Radulich and Broadcasting Network studio, if you will. If you don't mind, I'm going to introduce our special guest panelist for the evening. First, there's my eldest daughter. You got to hear her. Stop posing. It's audio.
I was going to do. Hello.
Okay, it's not necessary. You heard her on the Godzilla.
Plot attacks.
Thank you. The Godzilla podcast, sure. Commentary, that's the word I was looking for. Ladies and gentlemen, my daughter. Say a quick hello. This is Lilly Radulich. How you doing, Lily?
I'm doing.
Try talking into the mic.
I'm doing awesome.
How are you enjoying your summer vacation so far?
A little different.
It's a little different.
Well, I'm feeling happy that I'm at my Nini's house.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just missing my bed.
Yeah, I miss my bed too. And also on the panel tonight, this time not making screaming dinosaur noises, hopefully. Nope. Is my youngest son. He's 5 years young. Ladies and gentlemen, Jonas Radulich. How you doing, sir?
Good.
Terrific. He's not as wordy as my daughter. And I'll pitch it back to Robert for the final introduction here.
Not as wordy, but probably more noisy if I had to bet. And finally here with us, along with, of course, the ever-present presence of Eddie the Corgi, we have Alexis Hana back with us after she needed last week to just stay safe from the insanity that is Mark and I on a weekly basis. Hi, Alexis. How are things out there in the Midwest?
Doing good, and since we're probably going to be having more interruptions than usual, I'm currently bribing my dogs with flavored rawhide sticks, and so they'll stay away from their squeaky toys. Those who listened to last week's Screaming Boy podcast on toxic fandoms, plug, know that Eddie got in more commentary by going after his giant squeaky candy cane.
Well, in fairness, he added a lot to the overall presentation. We're glad to have him.
I'm wondering if maybe I can bribe my children with rawhide. I don't know how well that's going to work, though.
Hey, that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can bribe them with you can bribe them with rawhide in the sense that you've got a rawhide belt maybe.
And I'm a fat guy. I don't wear belts. Listen.
Fair enough.
Let's quick go around the horn before we do the plot synopsis and just kind of a real quick familiarity with the Toy Story trilogy. Kind of hopes, expectations about this fourth one, because it was kind of a controversial decision to even make it after the thoroughly enjoyable and
you can just say perfect, Mark.
Perfect conclusion that was Toy Story 3. Let me get this out there. Sean and I did a long road to ruin on the original trilogy, and I regardless of maybe how we handled the review, there was such interest in the Toy Story trilogy. We actually won over a lot of fans of the podcast. It's a couple of the people that we know. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to be right back.
Terrific. A lot of the people that we know that are fans of the network became fans because of the Toy Story podcast. So, I'm going to pitch it to Lily here first, and then you guys. Lily, how much of now you've seen all three movies?
Yeah. Even Toy Story of Terror, which was a little creepy. Yeah.
Yes, you've seen the ABC shorts that they aired. How much do you remember of the first three movies?
Well, I do remember from the first Toy Story movie, Woody did meet Buzz, and then I do know that Woody got jealous because Buzz was Andy's, which is the kid's new favorite toy, and he got so jealous that apparently he, on accident, threw him out the window. And then everyone started to get so upset they even threw him out the window, but then everyone tried to find Buzz instead of Woody.
How much do you remember about the second one?
Okay, so the second one was when Jesse and Bullseye came in.
Okay.
If any of you have seen it, you do know there was a third other coal miner, yeah.
They weren't mining cows.
Yeah, anyway. So he is not one of the Toy Story's toy. He's not really.
Do you remember the third one at all?
Yes, I do, a little.
Who was the villain in the third one?
Okay, the villain in the third one was a guy who smelled like strawberries. I forgot his name now.
Okay, it was
Lotso Bear.
Right.
Lotso Huggin' Bear.
Nasty and rude.
Not affiliated with the Care Bears at all.
Real quick, and again, like five-word answer here. Which of the three movies, which one was your favorite?
I think it was Toy Story 2.
Because
Jesse was in it.
Of course. My daughter the feminist, everybody.
Hey!
All right, Jonas, real quick.
You called me that in Godzilla and other times.
Yes, because it's true.
If the shoe fits.
Jonas, 10 words or less, what's your favorite Toy Story movie?
Mine is Toy Story of Terror.
Toy Story of Terror. Okay. Interesting choice. Not one of the movies, by the way.
But but it is kind of like the fourth maybe one.
Sure. It's like part 3.2. Yeah. So, Alexis, what were your hopes, your dreams, your familiarity with this franchise?
I was the perfect age when the first Toy Story movie came out. I was a kid. I grew up with Pixar. I watched every Pixar film that's come out in theaters except for Cars 3. I still remember the first time I saw Toy Story with my family, and my father losing his mind laughing during not the climactic scene, but the scene where they're trying to push the toolbox off of the little cage thing that Woody's trapped in, and you notice that it's a Bilford toolbox, a.k.a. Home Improvement. And yeah, there's this great moment. It's like, oh God, he's got to get out. And my father sees that, and he just lost his mind and let out one of the biggest laughs I've ever heard that man give in his lifetime.
It's commonly agreed upon, and you kind of heard Robert mention it before, that Toy Story 3 was a perfect conclusion to the trilogy, and there really didn't need to be a fourth one. What's your take on that?
Well, we did talk about that when we did the Toy Story 3 trailer react. Again, plug.
4.
What?
Toy Story 4.
Oh, did I say 3?
Yes,
sorry. Okay, sorry, no. Freudian slip. No, when we did the trailer react, I did say that I thought the ending of Toy Story 3 was about as perfect to an ending of a trilogy as you could get. I think the only film trilogy that even comes close to ending it that perfectly, honestly, is How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah, I wish I hadn't slept through most of it. That was pre-CPAP. Robert, tell me your dreams. Tell me your story, sir.
Well, I mean, how far back do we want to go?
Let's talk about Toy Story, goddammit.
All right, this franchise has... I've mentioned it a little bit at the top of the show. This franchise has an unfair access to my emotional buttons. I'm not a very emotional guy by and large. Surprise. But this franchise has always been able to just kind of sucker punch me in the feels. To this day, I can barely, in some respects, even talk about the closing scene of Toy Story 3 without getting choked up. It was that effective. And I was okay for most of that movie, and there's a lot of other scenes in it that, while effective, I was just kind of okay. I mean, there's so many, but that one near the beginning when Woody calls for a meeting of all the toys, and well, this is everybody, and it's a fourth of what it was at the beginning of the first movie. And they talk about the people that the toys that they've lost along the way. They're literally staring into the mouth of hell.
Yeah.
Before being rescued and just deciding that this is it. We can't do anything else. We've done all we can.
Yeah,
but we're going to hold hands.
I refer to it as the descent into hell.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but we're going to hold hands and go out together.
Yeah.
And I was okay through that. Rewatching it hit me a little bit harder. But then Andy pulls up to drop off the toys to Bonnie, and he just has to go over all of them. And just each one, I just by the end of that, I was a mess. I was just an absolute mess in the theater. And I mean, I get choked up when other material that I have no real connection to is, kind of memed over that scene. I mean, there was the one about Stan Lee dropping off the Marvel characters to Kevin Feige.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, really, I don't care. I'm not big on the comics. I enjoy the movies, but this is not a huge part of my life and my fandoms and my personality. And even when he picks up Woody as Spider-Man, just, okay, right there in the feels, every time. And I don't even like Spider-Man as a character all that much. But knowing, what Spider-Man meant to Stan, it makes sense. So I maintain this stance. That is the most perfect film trilogy in movie history. I do not. Godfather fans can come at me. Back to the Future fans can come at me. Your Star Wars jackasses can come at me. Lord of the Rings fans can come at me. I don't care. You all know that I'm right.
I want to add this
that
one
is the
thing.
Best.
Taking a page from the Everybody Loves a Bad Guy book, that you have 3 of some of the best villains. And I'm like, we talked about how, Marvel, they're shooting about 50-50 on villains, and some of these other movies just the villains, I don't know. These are some strong villains, and I bring that up because it's going to come up in Toy Story 4.
It really is.
You've got Sid, you've got the coal miner, played by Kelsey Grammer. Prospector. And then you have Lotsa.
Oh, they're all great.
Yeah, like you really have compelling, 3-dimensional villains, everything. I gotta stop for a second here. Jonas, did you want to add something?
Yeah. Some pieces of the Toy Story 4 was actually spell stories, and they had dummies in it.
Yep, we're going to talk about that. You wanted to add something real quick?
Yes. One thing. Sid from Toy Story 1, he's the only character who is not a toy.
Yes, he is the only villain, certainly, in the series that is not a toy. Go ahead, Alexis.
Well, I think one of the things about the Toy Story trilogy that makes it so memorable is that it is incredibly relatable. We have all grown up with our toys and gone through the experiences of growing out away from them, but then maybe looking back at our old toy chest and like, oh, I remember playing with that. And Robert, adding into getting teared up at the end of Toy Story 3, which, yeah, I do too. I cannot watch the When She Loved Me segment from Toy Story 2 without getting teary-eyed.
Yeah. Oh, that breaks my heart, that scene.
Oh,
What scene?
because I've been there. I was a girl. I went through a cowgirl phase when I was little. I think every Midwestern girl does.
Well, sure. Growing up in Kansas City, growing up in Kansas like you have, who doesn't imagine themselves to be a cowgirl?
I grew up in Missouri.
That's the gag.
Wait, Daddy,
Oh, along with my Russian husband.
Yes! Finally!
Daddy!
Don't acknowledge it. You can't acknowledge his gimmickry.
Yes, I can. If I acknowledge it, I take the steam out of it so he can't use it later.
That never
He just
works on
uses
me.
it more. He just uses it more.
All right, hang on a second. Hang on.
He's like Freddy. You have to not give him power.
One sec, guys. Go ahead, Jonas.
What scene broke your heart in Toy Story 2?
Alexis, unfortunately, the way that this is all working is the kids can't hear Robert and Alexis. They can hear them, but so my son was asking me what scene broke my heart in Toy Story 2, and I agreed with Alexis that the When She Loved Me, when the little girl gives up playing with Jessie and starts getting into makeup and all of that. Oh God, it's actually making me tear up now.
Like I said, I was that girl. I had those toys, and yeah, I grew up and I stopped playing with them, and I got into makeup, and I started and being a girly girl. A lot of people look at me and they're like, "You actually went through a girly phase." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, kind of hard to believe, but yes, I did."
My wife and I were actually talking about like that transition from playing with toys into giving them up, and I want to say like I have vivid memories of between 12 to 14. Like it wasn't a hard break at 12 because I remember having moved. I moved at that age, so there's stuff that I remember regarding playing with toys in our new house, but it didn't last that long. I was really big into Transformers. And the neighbor kid across the street had like all the Transformers, and I remember that. So I had to have been playing with them, between 6th grade and 9th grade. But I remember during that period was my big transition out of toys into focusing on music, making mixtapes, that sort of thing.
Bam, 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 bam.
Okay.
Oh, wow, this episode comes with its own soundtrack.
Yeah.
That is the appropriate reaction to the phrase mixtape.
I went through a whole thing with my wife about like going out to the Sam Goody. Remember those? No, nobody on this podcast remembers Sam Goody. Old man that I am.
It might be a regional thing too. Like they might not exist once you get a little bit further west. I mean, there's a lot of those places that are like, hey, we're pretty big back east, but as soon as the size of the states increases to being reasonable. Not so much.
Mall record store, basically. In my area, it was the Sam Goody, but like trying to hunt down the high grade 120-minute cassette tapes to make mixtapes with, and my friends and I having like mixtapes competitions and everything. But I think the other thing I was into, I was just into other stuff at that point. I was probably playing video games more, and so like I transitioned out of playing with toys. Before we get into the plot thing, unless there's any last words on this, go ahead. You wanted to say something.
Okay. So the thing is, I wouldn't really give up a lot of my toys.
You're 8.
Well, the thing is, I have a lot of makeup and stuff like that as well. But I still have a lot
Don't tell the audience that we let you tart yourself up.
Sorry you had to hear this.
Go ahead, finish, Lily. It's fine.
Okay. But the thing is, I get the girl is growing up, but the way like that was similar with Daisy in Toy Story 3. She didn't give up those toys, but the other one did. So
Like Daisy? I don't remember Daisy.
Daisy was in Toy Story 3. She was the owner of the baby, the clown, and the...
Oh, the owner of the preschool?
Yep.
The daycare?
She was a character in that movie, but she wasn't fully in it. Only when the clown told the story about that whole thing.
Okay. Jonas, last words on this before we move on. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
I want to tell you my favorite character.
What's your favorite character in the original Toy Story trilogy?
Well, it is Buzz.
It's Buzz?
Yeah.
Why is Buzz your favorite?
He's like super cool.
Because he looks super cool? Good reason. All right, Rob, take over.
All right. The plot of Toy Story 4, if you're familiar with the previous 3 movies, this is one of my major gripes with this movie, by the way. And let me be clear, this is not necessarily a knock on this movie as a standalone movie. If this movie is if this movie exists in a vacuum, and this is a bit of my critical synopsis here, but I just have to bring this up because I do think it's relevant. It's fine. There's nothing really wrong with it. It's well constructed. It's well written. There's not a lot of complaints. Hang on.
Wait your turn, Mark.
Again, I said well written. I didn't say without flaw. But when you look at it as part of the Toy Story, franchise as a whole, is where things fall apart a little bit. And part of that is that as I go over this, a lot of this is going to sound familiar because this Toy Story 4 relies almost exclusively on narrative beats that have been touched on in the previous 3 movies, and I don't mean that in a good way. So, Toy Story 4, the first thing we get is a flashback to the night we lost Bo Peep. She was just given, Andy's sister Molly was just kind of done having the nightlight, and she was given to a friend of the family. Woody tries to get her back, but Bo Peep is, no, there's no need to try and hide me. This is the life we have. We move on. It's time for me to move on to the next kid. And she offers him a spot. Toys get lost all the time. You could come with me. And Woody is somewhat tempted by the offer until he hears Andy desperately searching for him and realizes, I can't. This is still my place. They are separated. We get a bit of a synopsis for those who may not have seen the previous movies, although I don't know why you'd be watching 4 in that case. Then we pick up where we are now with Woody kind of being forgotten. Bonnie being young and, precocious as she is, she plays with a lot of her toys.
Also a feminist.
Sure.
She makes Jesse the sheriff, of course.
Yes.
How impressive.
I guarantee you that bit not lost on my daughter. I was like, yeah, no, that makes sense.
For the record, am I the only one that was kind of surprised that all these years with how much Woody's been banged up, that star was removable? And it hasn't fallen off and gotten lost yet?
Oh, do we really want to nitpick this universe?
Sorry, it was just something I kind of thought of. So I was like, the star comes off. Who'd have thunk?
I feel like they invented that for this movie, but go on, Robert.
I agree. That does seem like something they kind of pulled out for the sake of this movie. Anyway, Bonnie is about to start kindergarten and struggling a little bit with this. Woody then steals away in her backpack because his purpose in life is to help his kid through the trials and tribulations that she endures. In this case, the horrors of the United States educational system. While there, Bonnie is again kind of struggling to socialize, to make friends. Woody loosely facilitates her kind of engaging with art projects, and she makes a thing out of garbage. With some pipe cleaner, glue, googly eyes, popsicle sticks, a little bit of putty, and a spork, she creates Forky. I'm going to save yelling about Forky for later. I just am. It's not worth it right now. who she immediately decides is the greatest thing ever. And she brings Forky home, and Forky, being originally a spork, is now in the midst of an existential crisis whereby his new purpose in life does not fit with everything he knows about existence.
Yeah, this was a better idea as an SNL sketch, but go on.
Truth. He just wants to go in the trash because that's what disposable utensils are supposed to do after they've, been used once. He's been used and now wishes to go in the trash. So Woody, now feeling this is the only way he can contribute to being Bonnie's toy, fights like the devil to stop this poor thing from committing suicide.
Which is what you want in your animated feature for children. He's
just going around every moment I live is agony. Please end me. And no, you must be the toy. So
it's basically Mr. Mystiques in CGI.
I don't know what that is. Is that a Pokemon?
No, and neither is a Weeaboo. It's a Rick and Morty reference.
I've not seen that episode then. I mean, there's any number of instances where that could be brought up. And so they go on a road trip to celebrate last time before Bonnie officially starts kindergarten. And along the way, Forky ejects himself from the car to become litter, which is close enough to trash. Woody jumps out after him, saves him from becoming refuse on the side of the highway, like you do, and is able to kind of engage with him finally and explain to him his purpose, his new purpose in life, what he is, what he should be, and finally kind of gets through to Forky, again, the new reality that he is facing, and helps him kind of come to grips with that. Now, they then, as they are looking for where the RV that the family is in is parked, they stumble across an antique store, and Woody recognizes the lamp that Bo Peep was attached to in an antique store. He, unable to resist the lure of his old flame, and what his life used to be, and this is his midlife crisis, I guess. Again. They go into the antique store and start looking for Bo Peep because he thinks she's there. They stumble across the talking doll Gabby Gabby, a vintage, 50s doll, whose voice box is broken. She's being perambulated around by a series of ventriloquist dummies named Vincent.
I thought it was Benson.
I'd have to double check what it is official. Mark's singing. So
anyone over the age of 50 got that reference, and nobody else.
No one over the age of 50.
So just you.
Actually, Robert, you should know that one.
What's it to?
Benson.
I've not.
Robert Guillaume.
Nope. Not nope.
All right, you have failed me for the last time once again.
I failed you again. It won't be the last time.
Hey kids, Google the show Benson, and listen to the theme. Then you'll know what that was.
No!
Oh.
Hey, smart kids.
You're 8 and 5. You don't know nothing. All right, continue.
The peanut gallery is spoken. Gabby wants to remove the voice box from Woody because his is of the same model that hers is, and hers is defective. And she believes that if her voice box works properly, she will finally become the toy to a child, although that's not the way it's framed initially, despite it being blatantly obvious to anyone with a functional IQ in double digits. They escape with the help of Bo Peep, who has become a lost toy after her lamp never really sold in the antique store, and she was detachable from it, and the lamp was worth more on its own. That's not really made clear. Woody and Bo Peep connect. They take a bit of a magical journey through the world of lost toys, trying to get Sporky back, who was left in the antique store in the wicked clutches of Gabby Gabby. And it's actually through Sporky's lens that we kind of get to see more of her personality and her motivation. But
did you just call him Sporky?
I don't care.
How about Suicidey?
I got a bad feeling about Suicidey.
Look, okay.
Yay, somebody got that.
Okay,
Look,
there
used to be Look, there used to be 8 dwarves, but we all knew Suicide was a short-term project.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
There we
Bob.
go. I got one in, baby. I'm happy. Buzz Lightyear decides to go look for Woody after listening to his inner voice, which is actually just his pre-programmed voice recordings.
That was hilarious.
That was played for some great laughs. It really was. He encounters the most somehow characters more useless than Forky, the duck and the bunny.
Oh, come on. You cannot insult the awesomeness that is Key and Peele.
Yes, I
Don't.
can.
No, Lexus, no. Don't
Yes.
say that to him.
Yes, I can.
What did he say?
It's a
Though
long...
you could absolutely,
Don't worry about it.
completely remove those characters from this movie, and it's 100 times better.
Oh, okay. When I get my chance to speak, you and I are going to have a little
They
chat.
offer nothing apart from bad gags that could have been removed from the screenplay. Nothing.
Let's
I'm
get through.
saving myself
Pirate-
for after the plot synopsis.
The
Please
only
continue.
reason they're there is, hey, we've got Key and Peele, and we'll let them freestyle on into a microphone.
She, at this point, has gone to her neutral corner. Stop hitting her. Go.
No, this is London prize ring rules. I can stand as close to you as I want until you get up.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You made a box reference. If you can't back it up, that's on you.
For
Anyway.
God's sakes, finish the synopsis. You haven't
Thank
even
you.
mentioned Duke Kaboom.
No, but I'm about to. While trying to rescue Forky, they recruit Duck and Bunny, who just want to be... you'd think at some point they would just want the crappy stitching holding their hands together to be removed so they could be separate people. But no. They decide they have to go rescue Forky, who is inside Gabby's impenetrable fortress of the high-value portion of the antique store.
The locked china cabinet.
Yeah. So they recruit to help them the best character that they introduce in this movie, Duke Kaboom, the world's greatest Canadian. Not just Canadian stuntman, greatest Canadian.
Totally not an Evil Knievel parody.
Of course not. How could you possibly even insinuate that this was an Evel Knievel parody? That's intellectual property infringement, and if Duke Kaboom were not such a good Canadian boy, he would sue you.
90% of the
Yeah,
people who saw this movie don't know what an Evil Knievel is. Hang on.
Which is awesome.
Let me take an informal poll. Do you know who Evil Knievel is?
Huh?
Right. Do you know who Evil Knievel...
No. Why did you ask me that?
Yeah, do you know what an Evil Knievel is?
No.
Of course you don't. Continue.
What is
That
Fair
huh,
enough.
that
You know
huh
what he
has
said.
got to be recorded over again. That was brilliant.
I didn't hear you so good. I didn't even hear you so good.
Do you know... Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
No.
And don't nobody understand the words that are coming out of your mouth.
Stop trying to stick your foot in my mouth.
Our
Gross thing, you.
family is funny.
I'm just going to wipe off the
Okay, can Robert continue now? There, Choppy. Go.
kawaii choppy.
Okay.
So
They're able to
awesome.
they kind of rescue Forky, but not really. There's an action set piece, such as it is, but they can't rescue Forky. Everyone else is willing to kind of, we're gonna punt the ball. We're gonna take our loss of down, and we're just gonna try better next time. We're gonna move on, but Woody's fixation on trying to help out Bonnie this way just won't let him. So he goes back in. He
Yeah,
surrenders.
hang on. What he actually does the "I have nowhere else to go" bit.
Yeah, literally a bit that he does.
Well, it's interesting because Woody has never gone through a period where he wasn't wanted. He was Andy's favorite toy, and Bonnie clearly loved him. I mean,
Did no
we
place
saw
for
that when Andy was giving her the toys, just how excited she was to see him again. So he's like, he has never been in the position of, I'm not the favorite toy, I'm not being played with.
It's almost like, oh no. I mean, again, I have to bring up Toy Story 1, where his entire character arc was centered around learning not to be the favorite toy, but
Yeah, he was. I mean, seeing that's kind of my issue with this movie is we've already done the Woody has been displaced thing, but I think this was more of he didn't seem to have a function as a toy anymore. He was at least still a toy with Andy. He just wasn't like the favored toy. and he's kind of devolved into I have no reason for existence. It's a very existential movie. Forky's not the only one going through an existential crisis.
No, he's not.
That's true. In Toy Story 1, even before the ending when Buzz and Woody make up, there are still scenes where you see Andy playing with Woody. He's just also playing with Buzz at the same time.
Yeah. Anyway.
Hang on, before you continue, go ahead, Lily.
All right.
Okay, so if any of you have not seen the movie, I'm giving a little spoiler.
Toy Story. Oh, are you talking about Toy Story 4? Okay, so you don't know because
why
you
is your daughter worried about spoiling it? You have failed as a parent.
Calm down. I'm going to educate her now. So, do you know what a spoiler is, Lily?
Yes.
You know what a spoiler is?
Yes.
Terrific. We spoil the heck out of any movie that we review. So, spoil away, child.
At the end of the movie, Woody, you know what happened. If some of you don't, this is what happens.
Robert's trying to tell them, so you want to save this until he's done?
No.
Then get to the point, woman.
Okay, so at the end, Bonnie made another friend. Actually made one.
Okay, hang on. Robert will get there. We'll come back to it. Go ahead.
All right, so this time Woody re-enters the fortress of ventriloquist dolls. I don't know why there's so many.
The fortress of puppitude?
Huh?
Yeah. But
I like that, actually.
This time he gives up his voice box to Gabby in exchange for Forky's freedom. Gabby then decides this is the moment that I can be chosen by this child who I've watched come into the store. She will pick me and I will be a toy finally, not something sitting on a shelf. My life will be complete. It's set up. She tries it, and the kid goes, "Nah, I don't want you." So Woody decides I can't leave this poor toy in crisis. He is, you know what? I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save it for later because I just kind of I knew it. I'll get to it. So he offers them a spot with Bonnie, which I'm sure this kid just loves being volunteered. As all this is going on, the toys are coming up with ever more ridiculous and creative ways to keep the family from actually leaving.
Oh, boy, do I have stuff to say about that.
Jesse actually flattened the tire with a nail at one point.
I was going to say, that poor father is going to need a very large amount of tequila by the time that road trip is over.
Oof. He might go full on Shining by the end of that. There might not be a family to come back to.
It's so funny because, Bonnie keeps forgetting things and then things keep messing up. And I love that they're painting him as this calm father. He's like, it's okay. I'm not going to lose my temper. Although I love that line when he freaks out. I can't remember if he's freaking out about the flat tire or what he is. And Bonnie's mother says, okay, Daddy, say words and we're going to go take a walk.
It was the tire bit.
Right.
Daddy's about to use some words.
So,
which is a great line generally.
Clearly, yes. I obviously saw this movie with not only my children but my wife. And every time they cut to the dad freaking out about what's the gremlins affecting the RV, my wife just looked at me and laughed. She was like, "Wow, that's fatherhood in a nutshell." And it's so funny because I kind of had this reaction to that shit's not funny.
Look, you're the guy who's had to renovate a house watching The Money Pit going, this is a tragedy about my life.
Right. This isn't funny. This is a documentary. Go ahead.
Events were displayed in real time. So they decide we're gonna get Bonnie. We're gonna get Bonnie to take on Gabby, and we're gonna. So help me, you will fulfill your life's purpose, toy. They set up a rendezvous. As they're on the way, Gabby sees another child who's in distress, just kind of lost from her family at this carnival. That's kind of the backdrop for a lot of the movie. And she decides, no, I think I can help this one. So they set up her being found by this child who then takes comfort in the existence of the toy and uses that to find a bit of courage to talk with the security officers for the carnival that she should have done immediately after being lost. But hey, procedures.
I will admit that while this movie doesn't have any tear-jerk levels to the extent that 2 and 3 does, I did get a little emotional at that scene. I remember being that...
You and my wife. by the way.
Oh, I remember being that little and getting lost. It happens, and I remember feeling that scared, and how cute it was that they arranged it for Gabby to find her and help her feel better. It was a very sweet scene.
And
I'm
in
not
fact-
saying that it's not to the extent of, oh God, I need tissues like we got with 2 and 3, but it's very heartwarming, and I did really enjoy it.
I'd say my wife had it. It affected my wife, but from a different angle. She viewed it from the perspective of a mom and viewing a lost child. And she was like, she made a point to tell me it was the only part of them, because we both reflected on how the other movies were, as Robert said earlier, kick you right in the feels. And she was like, I didn't really get emotional with this movie until that had a huge impact on me, is what she told me.
Yeah, I totally agree with your wife.
Yeah, and this is also kind of the catalyst for Woody's decision that's about to come. All the toys kind of get back. They arrange to get back together. Bo Peep again offers Woody a chance to, be a lost toy, be with her instead of being all domesticated and tied down to the man, as such. There's such a deep and borderline offensive, like pro-hippie sentiment in parts of this movie that it really bothered me.
Okay.
This time, though, as Woody's about to leave, he's clearly a lot more hesitant, and I should have practiced this and I know why this part hit me the way it did.
Are you having an Endgame Steve Rogers with Peggy Dance moment?
Yeah, give me a sec.
You need help?
Do
you want to tag me in, Brett?
No, Jim, you're dead.
No.
They're all dead.
Oh, that's sad.
Isn't it, though? I joke about death. I can go on with this now. And Woody decides to stay behind this time. So, Forky is reunited with Bonnie and all the other toys. They all say their goodbyes. They go off and continue being, there for Bonnie. Woody now dedicates his life to cheating carnies, apparently.
No, he became a revolutionary. He's the Che Guevara of toys.
No, okay. Oh, two
He's
things.
setting the toys free.
Stop
Who
it.
is?
That's not accurate.
Who is?
Do not pause this to explain who Che Guevara is, for the love of God.
So, Jonas, there's socialism, see? No, go ahead.
Look, Che Guevara was a murderous terrorist. But let's just full stop.
No, Clinton.
Okay.
No, I'm not going to do it. Never mind.
What
Go ahead.
What's making the toys free? What?
What was that?
What'd he say?
The toys free? You said that.
No, I said Che Guevara.
Oh.
And then I said socialism. These are things you'll learn about when you get to 5th grade.
I'm cold right now, kind of.
Are you? Really?
Pick
Finish up,
up
Robert.
socialism and it's chilled your children to the bone because they know what it means.
I want
Instinctually.
Okay, guys,
Anyway,
before we start
again,
quoting Bernie Sanders, move on.
I would cut my own tongue out before quoting Bernie Sanders. Anyway, they look. You know what? Nope, not going to say it. Deal with it later.
Oh my God!
They say goodbye. Woody takes on his new role as
Viva la Revolution!
Stop it.
Well, see,
that's not
I think
accurate.
I think the idea is that he's helping. I think what he and Bo are doing is helping lost toys to find new homes.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. They're finding children for toys, and I'm trying to think of a better fictional equivalent of the.
He's like what is it, Peter, and he's preaching the gospel of the purpose-driven life.
No.
I was going to go with it's kind of like Madam Foster from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. That's what I was thinking.
That's closer.
I don't know what that is. Is that a Pokemon?
No.
Pokemon.
No, that's much closer to what I'm thinking of, though.
For the record, that was a great show.
So he takes on a life of traveling around and helping toys find families and kids rather than having to bum around playgrounds waiting for summer camp to start. And Bonnie winds up making Knifey to go with Forky. a year later. Let me be clear about this. The fact that that stupid spork with pipe cleaners on it was able to last an entire year is the most unrealistic thing about this movie, up to and including sentient toys.
All right, are you done?
Yeah, I think that's it. And
All right, so my kids are both being very well behaved, but if they don't talk soon, they're both going to explode. So let me go to Jonas first. Jonas, this is your big chance. Don't blow it. Tell tell the people all the things you thought about Toy Story 4.
It was a bit creepy.
Talk here.
It was a bit creepy than of the dummies.
Okay, the dummies were creepy. What was creepy about them?
They were like super creepy.
Oh, okay.
They were like, what was creepy?
So you thought the dummies were creepy. What did you think of Gabby?
Gabby.
Hang on.
I don't think her looks that silly, but I don't like the character.
You didn't like the character, but she wasn't necessary. Okay. Overall, did you like Toy Story 4? Did you like it more than the other 3 movies? Did you like it less?
I feel like I like it less, but I want to say I like it a lot.
You like it a lot?
Yeah, I guess I do.
You like it more than the other ones?
I think I like the one where like more than the other ones is the one where we've seen at the movies and the first one. That's the ones.
So Toy Story 3 and 1?
No, Toy Story 1. Yeah, Toy Story 4 and 1.
Okay, you like Toy Story 4 and you like Toy Story 1. Got it. Okay. So anything else? Because I'm going to pitch it to your sister, and then we're going to go then we're going to have Alexis and Rob talk. So this is your last shot to get this in here. So anything else about Toy Story 4 you want to tell the people?
Can I tell you what I wanted to say about Yoshi's Crafted World?
No, we're not reviewing Yoshi's Crafted World right now. Anything more about Toy Story?
I'm trying.
You want me to come back to you in a little bit? All right. You think. I'll come back to you. Lily,
Yes?
this is your opportunity now to tell the people all the things you thought about Toy Story 4 in 50 words or less.
What?
Just talk.
Okay. Same thing with Jonas on the beginning. I thought the dummies were creepy. But Gabby wasn't really. All she wanted was a kid. And everyone thought that was creepy. I get it. Her voice box was broken. Her CD was fine. But, so she had to get
your child
a
doesn't even know
kid.
what a record is.
But,
Dude, you almost made me hit water out my nose.
What?
Someday I'll talk to you about CDs, Lily. Continue. And the difference between that and vinyl records. Continue. So you were talking about Gabby and the voice box.
yeah. So, but I really liked it, the movie. I liked how Bo Peep was back. And by the way, her sheep actually did have names. Billy, Goat, Billy, Goat, and Gruff. Yeah.
Is there anything...
Do your kids actually know the story of the Billy Goat's Gruff?
I guarantee you Jonas doesn't, but
yeah.
do you know the story of the Billy Goat Gruff?
Nope.
Terrific.
But
Failure.
wait. I also wanted to say something.
Go ahead.
So, at the end of the movie, Bonnie made a new friend in first grade.
Okay, so what do you have to say about what was it, Knifey?
I'm going
I
with
don't
Knifey.
really know. I mean, I couldn't even understand the name. So, once it's out, we might need to rewatch that ending part because I even forgot the name. But the thing that was different about her was she had yarn hair, and she had an accessory in her hair, and also she wore a dress.
Okay.
And Forky was naked.
Yes, Forky was. Yeah, they really couldn't get over the fact that why did Knifey have to wear clothing, but Forky got to be naked. This was a big bone of contention in the post-movie conversation. Is there anything you didn't
Does
like
she
about...
not know that Donald Duck doesn't wear pants?
No, we often talk about Donald ducking around the house. Trust me, this is a very, very open family.
Now that DCFS is on their way.
Yeah. Is there anything you didn't like about the movie, Lily?
Besides the dummies.
Besides the dummies.
I think the only thing that got me upset in the movie, well, the part that made me cry
Okay.
was how that little girl didn't have who lost her family. That really made me heartbroken because sometimes I get these dreams how I'm alone as well. So like, I kind of feel bad for that girl.
Mm-hmm.
But then once she finds Gabby, I feel a lot more better. And then I start to get happy tears.
Yeah, I remember in the theater, very good Beavis. He's currently got his shirt over his head. I'm waiting for him to tell me about the Great Cornholio. So yeah, I actually remember in the theater, like, I'm watching the movie kind of intently, and I'm not really being moved emotionally by it. It's like, it's fine, it's whatever. And then all of a sudden, I hear the sobbing beside me, and I look, and there's my daughter, head in her hands. You know, so I had to give her a quick hug and hold her hand. All right. I think, so that's it. You guys have nothing else to say about the movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay, go to bed, both of you.
Wait, Daddy,
I'll
tell you something.
Wait, now I have a lot to say if it means bedtime.
To say.
Okay, say it, and then you guys are done.
Okay.
Say it and then get the hook.
Maybe in the new Toy Story, Watso's going to be good.
Wait, hang on. Is my son pitching a Toy Story 5? Jonas, go ahead. Tell us what you think Toy Story 5 should be.
You're like about Watso Toy good.
About the return of Lotso? I think that's a great idea, Jonas.
The return of Lotso.
There we go. Toy Story 5, The Return of Lotso. You heard it from the Radulich family first.
And now they're going to, and Watso's going to be the bad guy.
Oh, he's gonna first he's gonna be good, then he's gonna go back to being bad again?
No, I mean he's going to stay bad, but he's going to like take a bench.
Oh, the Revenge of Lotso. That's even better.
The Revenge of Lotso.
All right, so now that
for the record, I hate your kids.
It's fine. I understand. So here, let me quick give my thoughts on this, and I'll pitch over to you guys. This felt very direct-to-video for me. I got like a very much like a Little Mermaid 2, Revenge of Jafar kind of feel for it. Like, and I was reading about the production notes for this in the Wikipedia page, and it reads like they came up with a genuine idea for a Toy Story 4 that was, worth making another one, even though they all acknowledged that they felt like they even agree that, with Lasseter and company, that they ended the movie just fine. It doesn't say it in the notes, but there's for folks have been inferring that with the rise of Toy Story Land at the parks, they kind of needed a movie to do some synchronous marketing, get the name back out there, though I would tell you they probably didn't have to.
There was a mandate from on high.
Yeah, I would tell you they probably didn't have to. I know for a fact that, I have a cousin who's in her 20s, I think, and she's a big Toy Story fan. My brother-in-law, who's in his early 30s, has a kid, and they're all Toy Story fans. It was like you didn't need to remind people this was a thing. They remember. But fine. The mouse says make another Toy Story. We got to sell this park on people. Generate the interest and all of that. That's all well and good. Go ahead. Someone just breathed like they were about to talk. What was? Nope.
That was Eddie barking behind me.
Well, Eddie, what do you think about synchronous marketing? Never mind.
Eddie agrees with me that the line for the Slinky Dog coaster is long enough. Apparently, it's going to be at least another 5 hours now with this movie.
Yeah, probably, but it's still not as long as the Harry Potter ride, apparently.
Oh dear God.
So anyway, this to me didn't feel like a strong enough. The plot of this thing, the overall story didn't feel like it was a strong enough reason to mess with what was a perfect ending to the Toy Story trilogy. With that said, here's kind of my good, bad, and ugly to make this short. Obviously the performances were fine. Tom Hanks, nails this part. I enjoyed all the voice performances. What can you say about Pixar's animation? It's it's probably the best in the business.
Oh, it's so gorgeous.
Yeah.
The animation.
What did you?
Oh, Barney's hair. They got pipe cleaner that looks like pipe cleaner. That wasn't even possible. They, as a glint in somebody's eye, the ability to accurately depict pipe cleaner via computer animation when they made the original Toy Story was not at all even remotely a thing. Now it looks like freaking pipe cleaner.
Yeah.
And that's some obnoxious stuff to try and animate.
They're just shy of photorealistic. It's amazing. And we talked about that even with a shit movie like The Good Dinosaur, how gorgeous that movie looked. Alexis, what do you want to say?
I would say, what did you guys think about what they did with Don Rickles?
Oh, using like some of the old audio footage of him?
Yeah, well, Don Rickles died 2 years ago,
Audio
and
footage,
apparently,
listen to me. Audio recordings.
yeah, apparently what they did was they dug through the library they had of all of his recordings, including bits that were recorded but not used in the film, just discarded takes, and they were able to use that. And I could not tell the difference watching that movie. I mean, yeah, Mr. Potato Head doesn't take a huge part in the film like he has in the previous three, but you don't notice it. It's very impressive blending.
I honestly forgot the man was dead. So, I read that, I'm like, oh, that's right, Don Rickles isn't with us anymore. Oh, good job, guys. So, that's all really I have to say that's good about this. I mean, clearly it was entertaining. I have a lot more bad and ugly to say about it than I have good. It was, like I said, good performances, outstanding animation. The rest of it, so here comes a lot of complaining. Let me start with this, and it's probably like my biggest complaint, other than the villain, which I'll get to momentarily.
The lack of villain?
Yeah, the utter lack of a villain, the cheating and chickening out of a villain.
I will say to your kids who are saying that Gabby wasn't scary, you clearly haven't been showing them the Twilight Zone, because I was having Talking Tina flashbacks.
You're right, I haven't shown the 8 and the 5-year-old the Twilight Zone.
You should. At a minimum, you should be showing them, crap. Are you afraid of the dark?
Crap.
No, Are You Afraid of the Dark?
I am.
Isn't that getting rebooted?
Yes.
I hope so. It's great.
So, Finding Dory, which I loved. I thought Finding Dory was great, and Rob and I reviewed that, and Rob will remember how I was hysterically laughing at the end where, like, the octopus, like, is driving the truck, and we are clearly going overboard with the idea of, like, sentient creatures, but they handled it so well, and it's so, like, if you're gonna do it, if your conclusion to Finding Dory is gonna be the fish take over and drive the truck into the ocean as a getaway, go for it, man. Just go all the way.
And I still maintain Ed O'Neill going suck it bipeds is like, that one moment is like my spirit ant. Like that octopus saying suck it bipeds as he speeds away in a moving truck.
You didn't see The Secret Life of Pets 2.
Ever.
But that line was only surpassed by Dana Carvey in his old man voice saying, "Now you've done it, Pickles is pissed." Both of them are kind of equal for me.
If I ever start getting tattoos, I think I'm genuinely going to get like a photorealistic octopus like him, but just have a speech bubble that says, "Suck it, bipeds."
Yeah, perfect.
Oh, God.
It's so great. It's such a great line.
So, but like I said, they really went for it. They went over the top. Like, they were like, if we're going to do this, let's go super silly. And, and then they end it with, as the truck's going over the falls, what a wonderful world, which is goddamn hilarious. Okay.
I mean, look, you laughed much harder than I did, but I can acknowledge the humor in that whole sequence.
It was so Looney Tunes, it was so great.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing, it's like, they did it. They weren't holding back. I don't know how else you could have improved upon that scene without it getting so over the top that it sort of rounds back to unenjoyable. Like, it hit perfect pitch. And then they did it, and then they doubled down and did it again with this movie with the fucking toys going all gremlin / poltergeist on the RV to the point where I was like, "Are you kidding me? We're doing this again?" And here's the thing: we start with subtlety in the first movie. The toys come to life when someone walks out of the room. It's a Raggedy Ann and Andy thing going on. It's whenever Priscilla, I think it's Priscilla's the character's name, leaves. They all rise, and if she comes back in the room, down they go. And outside of the one time they mess with Sid, because it was kind of a life and death situation, they kind of maintain that. By the time we get to the fourth one, they're just kind of throwing it out the window, and they're like, oh, fuck it, we don't care if they discover we're alive. And I get, like, oh, but it was when, the moment I'm talking about that really bothered me was, Buzz Lightyear just randomly yelling out, she left her backpack at the thing. Like, all right. I get why, and you could make the argument, but yeah, that was kind of, what else was, they had nothing left, that was, like, their only choice, but it was still, you do it in the first movie, it's cool, by the time you get to the fourth one, like, we've done this, and that's kind of my overall complaint about this. This was a lot of rehash. A lot of rehashing of gags, a lot of rehashing of themes and ideas. I just, like, this is what I mean by, like, this feels wholly unnecessary. Like, we've done all this already. This almost felt like a soft reboot of the first one. Except for the fact that I almost feel like they weren't satisfied with the ending of Toy Story 3. Like, we're all satisfied with it. It was highly satisfying. But, like, the writers are all sitting around going, but what if they didn't descend into hell? Like, what if we gave Woody his own separate ending? Like an alternative ending to Toy Story. Like, if there wasn't... I was saying this to Melissa, who's my wife. If they hadn't done Toy Story 3 and they did this instead, I guess it would have been fine and it wouldn't have bothered me as much. Because this has... If you're really invested in just the Woody character and the Woody character alone, because goddamn, this is really his movie, then, okay, he finally gets over having to be, the toy for a child and goes to, like, live his own life. Okay, that's all fine. I don't think it's as good as Toy Story 3, but if I didn't have that to fall back on, I'd have been like, okay, they gave the character a very nice conclusion. I'm okay with this. As an add-on, after they've already done all the stuff in Toy Story 3, I thought it sucked. I'm like, this was a waste of time. This felt like a second or third draft, which I do know that this, the original concept that was pitched, this was rewritten 2 or 3 times, and I feel like in the original draft they didn't give Tim Allen anything to do, and somebody said, hey, his contract says you have to give him more screen time, and his entire plot line in this was an add-on, or like like just a compilation of studio notes, like, Tim Allen, his whole thing just felt like an add-on. Like, if you cut Tim Allen out of the picture, I don't think you'd have missed much.
Even though, I'll give you that, but you still have to admit that his scenes were freaking hilarious because of the misunderstanding of the, quote, inner voice.
Oh, no, I get that. Like, I get that he's a concrete character, and him kind of dealing with that concrete thinking is funny. And I said, like, the performances were great, and I think in that sense, it's fine. But as far as adding to the breadth of the story, I don't think he adds anything other than, like, gags.
With one exception, that is correct.
Yeah, I'm talking in general. So yeah.
Well, you could say that about almost all of the excess or all the other toys. This is the first Toy Story movie that really doesn't bring in the other characters. I mean, I guess we see a little bit of the others, but what does Rex do? I mean, again, Mrs. Potato Head does a little bit, but Mr. Potato Head doesn't do enough, which was probably written because of what they were dealing with the audio recordings. But this
Jesse,
was...
Oh, God.
Jesse was
Go ahead.
Jesse was wasted. They were all wasted. It was like
I feel like you're going to make the point I'm going to make, so I'm going to let you make it.
I honestly feel like after maybe the first act, I wish you hadn't seen the rest of the characters anymore. They did, everything they gave them to do was just like, oh, remember they're in the picture too. But this really was just an entire focus, and they even said, and I read in the notes that this was supposed to be kind of a love story between Woody and Bo Peep, which I was fine with, but then fucking focus on that then. Separate him entirely from the rest of the characters. But then you probably would have had bitching about, like, well, what about Jesse? Whatever. In any case, what chicken shit is this? That they build up this creepy doll character, and when it gets to, like, the denouement of the movie, you get, I just want to have an opportunity to be someone's toy. And he's like, all right, take my voice box. It's fine. Fuck it. What am I going to do with it?
I cannot begin to express to you how in this movie I feel the lack of a concrete villain robs so much of this movie of what could make it better.
I don't know if this is, hey, the world is turned to snowflakes and we don't want to bother people by having a compelling villain. I don't know if it's like, it's a bunch of children, we don't want to scare people. You know, people still talk about what nightmares Sid gave them. I don't know. I don't know what possessed them to utterly neuter this fucking movie. But that was like one of the first things Melissa and I said to each other when we watched it. It was like, why didn't they have a villain in this? Like, you're led to believe it's Gabby, but then when you finally get, like, that scene should have, I feel like the original written scene was they ripped fucking his voice box out, and he's, like, in half, and they gotta sew him back together or something. I don't know. But something that puts a little zest into this movie, this felt, my God, this felt like it was made for toddlers and we don't want to frighten the poor child. Like, normally I'm the one defending, like, hey, children are people too, and you have to speak to them. Like, this overdoes that. This just assumes children can't handle any shit, and it was like, yeah, here's this beige presentation that'll offend
Don
nobody.
Bluth could not get a movie produced in 2019.
No, they'd have hung Don Bluth by his fucking toenails in 2019.
It's especially disheartening because, like you said, the Toy Story trilogy had incredible villains, but there were also villains that you related with. Right. We all knew kids like Sid growing up, the ones who loved to torture toys. We even though we hate Stinky Pete the Prospector, we understand where he's coming from. This is a toy who was never picked, stayed on the shelf his whole life. He's mint-condition, never been out of his box.
Hang on.
And
but that's brilliant, because that goes to my point of we've done this before. Because now that you mention it, and it's been a while since I've seen Toy Story 2, holy shit, Gabby is Prospector Pete.
With a slightly different desire. Pete's whole point is he's the character that kind of goes, okay, the world has turned its back on me, so I will turn my back on the world. He doesn't want a kid. Right. He wants to go to the museum where he can be appreciated for what he is, which is not a very compelling or interesting toy, but something that is where he derives value.
Villain because of how that extends to what he does to the toys around him. And it just feels like they were going that way with Gabby, and then when it's like, well, we don't want to make her an exact copy of Pete. On the other hand, when we don't want to make her, interesting. I don't know. I don't know what word I want to use here, because I don't know what people were thinking.
While you think about your vocabulary for a minute, let me, and I don't mean that disparagingly.
I got you. It's okay.
There's
come on, fucko.
The lack of villain in this movie is a real problem, and you mentioned that all the others are, even when they're despicable, and I want to get to Lotso in a second, but yeah, we all knew a Sid. Some kid who's, this is just a plastic thing. I'm going to, experiment. I'm going to take it apart, see if I can put it back together, see if this piece fits with this thing, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Yeah, most of them are now selling crafts at the local Comic-Cons.
Do you know how many Darth Vader heads of the original Kenner figure line from the early 80s, how many Darth Vader heads I popped off because they came off so easily? Or how many G.I. Joe legs got pulled off?
Do you have any idea how many people I've seen selling earrings and charm bracelets made out of Lego figurine heads? There's a reason when I make my Lego jewelry, I only work with the bricks. Because every figurine has been dissected, taken apart, painted, and put back together, and is now hanging off some hipster's ear.
And then again, we get to Prospector Pete, whose entire purpose is, okay, I have no value as a toy for a child. Where does my value come from? Where do I find meaning in life? It's being in a toy museum where my value is real. It's just different from yours. And come hell or high water, I'm going to force everyone else to conform to this, right, even if it's not what they want. And then there's Lotso, who can't handle rejection and decides he's going to burn the entire system down, basically. And this is not a joke. Like, again, Lotso is not sympathetic, but we do understand his logic kind of thing. Lotso's the only character in Toy Story who did something that actually made me want to, deeply made me angry and, nearly violent in an irrational fashion.
When he doesn't stop the belt?
When he doesn't stop that belt, when he just gets up there, looks back at them and goes, "Where's your kid now?" and walks off. I wanted him to encounter that evil cat. I wanted him torn to freaking pieces.
Yeah. So,
and again,
then,
but we do understand that. We also understand the situation he's been in. How many times has a child said, "I can't find my so-and-so toy," so the parents just go to the store, get another one, and say, "Here he is. He was over here the whole time."
Right.
No. I mean, again, he is understandable, even if he is absolutely despicable.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he gets basically the worst fate of any of the Toy Story villains for certain values of having to be a garbage man for Sid, fair enough, is
I would say Sid looks like he's
appropriate.
enjoying himself.
Sid's having a good time. It's good work. It pays the bills. Rock on, man. I don't mean to disparage the line of work.
So,
for the record, I never understood the ending where there's toys tied to the front of the garbage trucks.
Have you never seen that?
No, I honestly have never seen the trucks in my area. I've never done that.
No, that's a thing. That's an actual thing. It's not really a garbage truck in that it's more like a long haul truck kind of thing. And yeah, if I see that all the time, not as much now because I think people crack down on it, but it used to be a thing where, if you were stuck on, you would, kind of tie a brightly colored toy to your grill, and partially because it helps, because people are stupid. It helps other.
I would liken it to designer mud flaps or stickers on the. You ever see, in high school or in college, the car that had all the stickers on the back of the car, all the way up the trunk and everything?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, and
yeah.
So the fact that he is now eternally trapped to the grill of Immortan Joe's.
So to wrap up real quick, and I'll pass it on to you guys. Just we talked too much of this as a cover song and not an interesting cover song for me. I like the ending that Woody finally kind of evolves past all of this. It was fine, but again, I think that works better. God is my witness, and I understand. Why would you put this on Disney Plus when this will probably make money in theaters? That rationale. But I don't understand. But beyond that, this would have made a much better anchor as a Disney Plus exclusive. One, I don't think it's good enough to be a feature motion picture. Yes, it's going to make money. It'll be successful. Blah, blah, yakety schmackety. But when I think of the bar that was set by the three feature Toy Story, you heard my kids talk about the one that they relate to and the one that they have a lot of memories about is the Toy Story of Terror, which was on television. It feels like that level of production. It's not bad per se, though. It was just more of we talked about this during the trailer react. If we weren't doing a review podcast, I would have skipped it. I will say this, and then I'll pass it along. I got really annoyed and upset when I saw the trailer and they did the bit with the suicidal toy. And
I remember you making fun of that when we did the trailer reaction. It's did that thing just kill itself or something like that?
and initially, my wife and I were like, we're not even going to go see this. We had if my kids weren't interested in going to see this, I wouldn't have taken them. I'd have just seen it for the purposes of the podcast and been done with it. But they were interested in seeing it, so away we went. But I was afraid that was going to be too much of the plot. And it's a gag for about 5 minutes of the movie in the beginning. They kind of drag it out a little bit further to sort of get to the second act. But after that, it's done. And Forky's kind of... At that point, Forky kind of shifts from a character to more of a MacGuffin. There you go. You owe me a beer.
I will not contribute to your alcoholism.
Oh, you should have seen me on Sunday. I got lit up from the neck up. I'll tell you what.
And this relates to our review, how?
It's the only way to cope with the aftermath of Toy Story 3. Or Toy Story 4, rather, is just, you have to get wasted.
You're not kidding.
Oh, I don't know. I think you need to get wasted after Toy Story 3. It's so sad. I need another shot.
Okay, sure, but there's a difference between grief drinking and trauma drinking.
So,
Good
yeah.
point.
So once he shifts to a MacGuffin, I was like, okay. Thankfully, this was more Woody story and not Forky story, and they didn't run the gag completely into the ground. So it has that going for it. All right, Alexis, your thoughts?
I agree that this film would have benefited from a concrete villain. I did not dislike Gabby as a character. I understood, and I like the idea that she spends so much time looking at the little girl that she wants to be adopted by is the antique shop's granddaughter, who I guess comes in frequently to play with the toys. And so she has spent so much time focusing, saying this it's not just I want to be loved by a child, it's I want to be loved by that child. And when she finally gets the voice or her voice box fixed, and she's finally picked up by the little girl, and the little girl says, not really my thing, and tosses her away, that was a little heartbreaking. I mean, yeah, you could kind of see it a mile away, but still it's like, ooh, ouch. But yeah, I did miss having thank you. I did miss having a concrete villain in this. What's interesting about Toy Story 4 to me, though, is that this is a film that I walked out of saying, do I think that they should have stopped after 3? Yeah. But I really can't find anything to say that I really disliked about this movie. I mean, there were a few little flaws here and there, but I didn't walk out saying, ugh, I don't think I want to see that again or anything. I did enjoy it. I didn't think there was anything concretely wrong about it.
Do you have any major disagreements with my criticisms?
Well, again, I feel that I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. There are some flaws with it, but I don't think that they're flaws that make it intrinsically a bad movie. I did enjoy myself. I know the kids are going to enjoy it. I will say that at this point, I'm about ready to sacrifice a rabbit at the full moon to say, for the love of God, don't make Toy Story 5.
Really? Because I thought my son had a solid pitch.
Stop it.
At this point, we're sacrificing your son to make sure it doesn't happen.
You leave him alone.
You brought him into this.
Well, he's genetically taken on my idea for terrible pitches. I love it.
You know what? Fair enough. He has imprinted onto you in the worst ways.
Like I said, I did enjoy the movie. I enjoyed all the performances from all the characters. There wasn't anyone who I walked out saying, oh my God, why'd they get that actor? I'm even laughing that Keanu Reeves, an actor that Hollywood for so long has pushed past just saying, oh, he's a bad actor, he can't really contribute or anything. You know, he's so wooden, whatever. He is hilarious. His little monologue about, you know, it's like the kid didn't want to play with him because he couldn't do what he did in the commercial. It's like, it's a commercial. How do you not understand? I was dying. I was laughing so hard. It was so freaking hilarious.
I gotta jump in here
because it's just a commercial, Rijon. It's not real. Why couldn't you understand that? It was the best Boxing Day of my life.
I gotta jump in here because that actually reminded me of something I wanted to mention. That this. I want to read this line to you. According to animator Becky Tower, Bo Peep's new attitude and independence was in development long before the Time's Up movement started. Do you guys know what Time's Up is?
No.
Time's Up, according to Wiki, is the movement against sexual harassment and was founded on January 1st, 2018 by Hollywood celebrities in response to the Weinstein effect and #MeToo.
I remember seeing some people wearing pins at the Oscars that said "Time's Up."
Right.
Okay, I mean this in all seriousness. Look, sexual harassment's a terrible thing. I am not the only people who are pro-sexual harassment are sexual harassers. Like Bill Clinton is pro-sexual harassment. That's about it.
Check out your spot on the bingo card.
Finder, Bill Clinton, rapist.
Look, I bring this up because my wife is so funny because she's totally not a feminist. She definitely favors this as a traditional role of women, men and women in relationships or whatever. She's funny to talk to that way, and we both kind of we talked about some of the things already that we both read the exact same conclusion on. And I bring this up, one, just to bring some color to the conversation, but also because my wife and I don't generally agree when we're both analyzing a film or a TV show. We have some pretty varied opinions. It makes for interesting conversation. But on this one, we were totally in sync. We both had the same thoughts, and we both were like, "What the fuck is up with this movie?" Where it's seemingly it was all about positive girl characters, and the boy characters were all dopey and negative, and it's like Bonnie is a great girl, and Harmony is a great girl. And
hold on, this movie does a great job of making Bonnie just utterly unlikable.
I don't agree with that at all.
I think it does a good job of making Bonnie a reason why I'm probably never going to have kids.
Oh,
but she's a kid. But she's a kid. That's the thing. It's I'm not saying she's a horrible kid. I'm saying she's a kid, constantly forgetting stuff. Oh my God, that was me. My parents will tell you. My sister and I are tied for who was the most scatterbrained when we were younger. I think she's currently in the lead.
Yeah, no, kids intrinsically have to head up their ass. I don't have an issue with that.
No, it's she was annoying, but she was a kid, and right. I think that's the difference here is that, Mark, you have children, and I'm sure you have gone through the phase of your child saying, "I forgot something," and you're about ready to
going through that. That's not. I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. Nothing has changed.
Where you have the moment where your kid says, "I forgot something," and you're about an inch away from putting a fist through the wall, but you're like, "Okay, let's handle it."
An entire school year, every day was the same thing. Did you brush your teeth? Did you change your underwear? I felt like I was doing a Bill Cosby bit.
Look, that bit's hilarious because it's real, and we all know it.
But here's the thing that I was getting to. So I said, Robert's opinion on children aside, I thought, Bonnie is portrayed as positive, Harmony is positive. Fuck, the little kid who gets lost is a girl and positive. The one negative boy in this entire thing, the kid playing with the Evel Knievel doll. Come on. Generally speaking, I don't get upset over this sort of thing, but it was just an eye roll for me where, we talked, okay, everyone mark this off on your bingo card. We talked about this with the Captain Marvel thing where it's just all the things for girls, nothing for boys. It's I've always thought that Pixar did a really good job of being gender equitable.
When we say inclusivity, we don't mean, quota filling.
Right.
And every other Pixar movie doesn't really do that. They have great characters, and the question they pose seems to be, okay, is this, where does this character benefit from going, rather than, well, boy, we sure do need more X in our movie to fill out the notes from the. And this movie is more that.
I look at the first Toy Story.
Guys.
You have Andy and you have Sid, right? You have a really good representation of a boy. You have a really bad representation of a boy. Look at Inside Out, right? Your two main characters, happiness and sadness, both women. It was, I thought in the past Pixar's done a really, really good job of saying we're not favoring a particular gender here. We're just going to write solid characters, and I don't think they achieved that in this one. Go ahead, Alexis.
Yeah, I was going to say, can the one woman in the group here actually make a point?
No, sit down. No, go ahead.
Shut up or I'll take back what I said about mansplaining. Okay, I don't really get up in arms like you guys did about this. I mean, okay, we have 3 children, not counting Bonnie because she was brought in from the army. We have 3 other children. We have Harmony, we have Bichon, and we have the little lost girl. Harmony and the lost girl have to be girls because they are the targets for Gabby Gabby. For the most part, I know there are some, but for the most part, boys are not going to play with talking girl toys. And for the love of God, I am not saying this on the whole Target should not do the whole pink and blue aisle thing for toy dividers. Do not send us your hate mail, for the love of God.
Send me your hate mail. It's fine. At Mark Radulich on Twitter.
Yeah,
he feeds on it.
Yes, he does. And then you have a toy like Duke Kaboom, which, yes, is going to be played more by boys. I don't think it's so much, that there's too much X. I think that you had to go with that because that's who the, demographic would be for those toys. And I'm just going to say this. I have nothing against little boys who want to play with girls' toys, and I have nothing against little girls who want to play with boys' toys. If it makes your child happy, let them play with whatever they want, as long as it's not power tools. But I honestly feel that if Pixar had done this where it was a little boy who found Gabby and picked her up and said, I found this doll and she made me happy, I think that would have been inciting a flame war that we do not have
hang on.
to deal with.
You are correct. There's a large segment of the internet that would have lost its mind. I don't think any of us here would have because we're rational, reasonable human beings.
I'd have been okay with it.
Again, wouldn't have bothered me.
Mark, if Jonas wanted to play with a toy like Gabby, you wouldn't have a problem with it, right?
No. Look, no, fuck you. He has a sister. His sister has Barbies. When he plays with his sister, he plays with his sister's stuff. I had female cousins. When I played at their house, I played with their stuff. When they came over to my house, on the occasion that they did, they played with my stuff. I don't think if you pick... When my daughter was born, we actually kind of went the gender neutral thing. Like, we bought her dolls and trucks, and you play with what interests you. And she went full on princess real early. Boy, was that an experiment in nature versus nurture. But and I'll admit when we didn't do that necessarily with my son. But look. He has 2 neighbors across the street that are girls. He has a sister. He's gonna play with girl stuff. Who gives a shit? It's toys, and he's a child. Yeah. I don't think when you're a boy, you touch a Barbie, you instantly turn whatever. And that's ridiculous.
I agree. I think, and to your point, Alexis, I think that, and look, I suppose you could argue this either way. I'm going to assume a bit of motivation here, and if I'm doing so unfairly, I'm going to acknowledge it off the bat. All right? So nobody yell at me about that, please. I feel like if they were given the studio note, we need a lot of positive... We want more positive female characters and characterizations in this movie, and they came up with very good, very believable reasoning within their world to achieve that. I'm not knocking anything as being inconsistent. And again, I'm ascribing to them unflattering motivations because I always do. If anyone else, if there's anyone out there who feels differently about it, fair play. I might be wrong. I'm not going to pretend that again I was in the writer's room or anything. But that's kind of the way it felt to me as I was going through it. And again, my feelings mean absolutely nothing. So. I can acknowledge that as well.
So you're saying that before even Gabby was constructed as the villain, there was the note saying more female characters. Who's panting into the microphone? What was that?
No, that was me scratching my keyboard. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, so I was just kind of looking around. It's like, wait, my dogs aren't on the microphone. What the hell? But that's what you're saying though. That's
kind of my read on it.
Okay,
they were able to write very well within the set of those notes.
Okay, again, I can't really complain about it because I felt that it did fit naturally. Had they decided that the main antagonist, and I say antagonist, not villain, was not going to be a, my name is Talking Tina and I'm going to kill you creation.
Can I just say we need a Toy Story and Child's Play crossover?
Yes.
Haven't you seen the posters?
No, there's actually a shirt design up on, I can't remember if it's Ripped or T-Fury today, that is the old the original Halloween poster kind of thing with Michael Myers holding the knife, but it's Chucky, and in place of the slices of pumpkin making up the jack-o'-lantern, it's little slices of the different characters from Toy Story making up the jack-o'-lantern. And it's just Toy Story the night Chucky came to play, and I just thought, you know what, yeah, if we're gonna piss all over this, let's do it.
Did you see so go ahead, Mark.
I want to validate your point that that once they decided that these were the characters, there wasn't a whole lot of choices that they could have made in terms of who was going to be, a good representation or a bad one. They sort of set up the direction they were going in, and they followed it, logically. You're not wrong, and I have to concede that point. I think because of the movies we've discussed over the past year and what's going, in the current socio-political climate, I might be a little bit more sensitive to it. And like I said, normally I don't get worked up about these sort of things. I fucking defended Captain Marvel. I was, all over that. I defended the Ghostbusters movie. I was all over that. I think I might be a little bit more raw to it now because of, and like, it's weird because like I said, I just defended those things, but like this feels too much checklist. This felt too pandering, and to Robert's point, yeah, this felt like, they had a script, they got a series of production notes, they threw the script away and started all over again.
I'll give you that. I guess I don't notice it unless I feel that it is shoehorned in more than anything. Again, I feel these characters were well written, and the plot, and again, the path that they were on, it did make sense in the long run. I'm against scenes like, we brought this up when we reviewed Dark Phoenix, that line, oh, by the way, the women do more of the saving than the men. We should call this the ex-women.
I don't know who got paid to write that, but they got paid way too much, and it's a terrible line.
I said this during the review. I am convinced it was a man who wrote that because I don't feel like any woman would purposely write a line like that.
Alyssa Milano would.
Okay,
Agreed.
fine. I'll give you fine. No arguments. And I like Alyssa Milano. Okay,
hang on. No, I have another one. Lena Dunham would have.
I'm not familiar enough with Lena.
It would not have been that exact line. It would have been slightly wordier, but she would have wrote it.
No, Lena Dunham would have made sure to point out during the shuttle evacuation that it was more the women who were doing something than the men. That I still say that line was shoehorned in because like.
Okay, no, she also would have had the commander being the man, trying to save the ship at the end of that. There would have been some crack about, men really can't navigate.
Anyway,
this is what Toy Story. I was going to say, this is how bad Dark Phoenix is, folks. We're still bitching about it.
Hey, Dark Phoenix is the new Venom. Alexis, anything else about Toy Story 4?
I promised myself I was going to wait until, we got everything else out of the way. I enjoyed the Key and Peele cameos for two reasons. One, I legit do like them when they're together. I think they're funny. When they did that little teaser trailer.
They're a funny duo.
Yeah, when they did the teaser trailer, when they're trying to remember Buzz's catchphrase, like, to infinity and a blonde. I love that. That killed me. And the other reason I don't like them so much, I did a little research. Those two were allowed to record together. Now, for those who don't know, in the animation industry, it is very rare to have actors record their sessions together. In fact, a lot of actors who do this usually say, I didn't know who else was on this until, we went to the movie premiere or whatever. But I love it when I listen to a movie and they actually do let the actors record together. One of my favorite animated movies, I'm terrified to tell you guys this, is The Road to El Dorado.
Okay.
And it is for one main reason. Kenneth Branagh and Kevin Kline were allowed to record in the same session. It allowed for a lot more chemistry, a little ad-libbing. They were able to play off of each other's energy because these are two very classically trained actors, and that works well to their advantage.
That is the best thing about that movie is the interplay between their characters.
Agreed. And I like that with Key and Peele, that they were allowed to record together because I feel that they had some great dialogue that you could tell they were just having fun within the session. The scene where they're they're walking, they're trying to get Forky, and Billy Goat and Gruff turn around and look at them and they're like, oh my God, that thing's got 6 eyes. It's got 3 heads. What the heck is going on there? Oh my God. I love that scene. It is so funny and it feels natural coming from those two. I love bits like that in animated films because it feels more natural. It just really has an enjoyment to it. So
again, look, I agree they're a funny duo. They really are. I am not dismissing their ability or their talent. this goes to the writing generally. It felt like they were given a bit of, hey, we've got Key and Peele, do something with them. They don't, and their response was, oh yeah, we've also got Buzz Lightyear. Let's have stupidity ensue.
Although, okay, I'm also willing to bet you laughed pretty hard at the scene when they reveal how they got the key.
No, that's a great scene.
Yeah, it was really hard. It was, oh my God, that was great.
How are we going to get that key?
That's the weird thing about
Leaves
this
it on
movie.
the dish by them.
I know I spent 10 minutes just complaining about it, but it was like, craft-wise, I don't think it's a well-put-together movie, and I think it's too much of the same thing. That's not to say that I wasn't mildly entertained and laughed out loud at some stuff. This is always the whole thing that me and Robert get into about how you can find something entertaining that isn't well done. The key thing is a great example of that. I laughed hard at that. I really did. But it was great. You got a great gag into a shit movie. Good for you.
I'm sorry, I don't think it was a shit movie. I'm not going to say that I think it's on par with the previous 3 films. It is not.
Not
You could chalk that up. You could chalk that up to writing. You can chalk that up to nostalgia. You could chalk that up to the lack of the concrete villain. There's a lot of factors in play. But this is a movie I walked out of thinking there is nothing I can legitimately hate about this film. When you guys have sent me to so many movies lately that I have been like, oh, why do I suffer for those 2?
You know nothing of my pain.
I'm getting there. But
no. You have not seen Reese Witherspoon turn into romaine lettuce or the absolute waste of all. This movie was a waste of the light particles that illuminated on the screen that was the Force stick.
And that's bingo, everybody.
No kidding. I should also add this. Mark, I know I sent you this. Robert, I don't know if I sent you this. When I left the theater, I was with my mom and my aunt.
I did see that, yeah.
Yeah, my aunt and I go to all the animated films together. I always joke that she's the one who got me started on being obsessed with cartoons, and she's always like, yeah, and I'm going to have to live with that guilt for the rest of my life. But there was a table in the lobby of the theater, and I went over to see what was going on. They had craft supplies to make Forkies. They had pipe cleaners and stick-on googly eyes and little popsicle sticks that are already cut in half and markers. And there was all these kids running around and making their own versions of Forky, and I just thought it was the cutest thing in the world. I loved it.
Let me talk to you a little bit, because I don't know the timeline of when you and Sean were together and watching wrestling, but Forky is the new head. Robert knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, sorry, not getting the reference.
So
okay, I can very briefly summarize. There was a wrestling character by the name of Al Snow, and his gimmick for a while was that he was schizophrenic.
Yeah.
And the voices in his head, to help give them a voice, he would carry around like a mannequin head. And
so it's like the ventriloquist from the Batman Rogues Gallery.
Little bit, yeah. And well, it never moved. It was just he carried it with him, and he would pretend it was talking to him. He would smack people with it. And this thing was ridiculously over, which everybody loved it. Nobody really cared about him because he was a so-so worker. I mean, I don't mean to crap on the guy.
Oh my God,
better trainer than worker. But they used to just sell cheap styrofoam heads at events he was at. They'd buy them in bulk for 50 cents a piece and then sell them for $2.50.
Yeah, I got a half of like a 10-word tangent here. So this got over in the independent Northeastern Federation ECW that hardcore fans were super into, all 50 of them, and it got over there. And there was one event where they really featured Al Snow, and they gave everybody a styrofoam head. They wanted to create a techno club vibe was what they were going for, and it actually was a really cool visual moment that was captured on this particular wrestling pay-per-view. And Vince McMahon kind of saw that and went, "We can sell those. It'll be good shit, pal." And And that's what they did. They literally would buy regular styrofoam heads and like mark them up 1,000% because they got over in ECW. Forky is the new head.
Okay. So, sorry, I have nothing to add on to that. But final line. But yes, the movie has flaws. Yes, there's a lot of things they could have done to make it better. Concrete villain, using more of the other toys. The list goes on. But I have nothing about this film that I can actively hate. I still prefer the original 3, but I enjoyed myself. And if you enjoyed the first 3 movies, you're going to enjoy this one. If you like animated films, you're going to enjoy this one. Tom Hanks and Tim Allen are still incredible as these characters that they, started as over, holy crap, 20 years ago. Yep. And I enjoyed it. I really did.
Take me home, Robbie.
All right. Again, I think if you take this movie as a standalone thing, like it just exists and it's the only one of its kind, there's very little to complain about. Again, there are things that I don't disagree with a whole lot of Mark's complaining, but on the whole, if we're talking about, the craft of the movie, we're fixated on a few very, in many respects, minor details, which is fine. That's what we do here, and I'm not complaining about it. But, to everyone, and when we get to the critics, we can talk a little bit about this, but everyone giving this a positive review, I believe, is largely correct from an objective perspective. There's just not a whole lot that is badly done. Again, there's things I might have done differently. There's things I would have, but it's fine. It's a perfectly serviceable, well put together piece of film. Not great, not perfect. It's more than adequate. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. It's it suffers by comparison partially because the other movies in this franchise are A plus 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 plus, and this is a B.
The other films are iconic.
God,
really
are. I don't want to belabor the argument any further. I want to move on to the next thing, but who would have thought I was going to be the really negative one on this podcast tonight? Number one.
Hang on, I'm not done yet.
Okay. I'll let me shut up. Go ahead.
Okay, so again, I think in terms of pure craft, there's some issues of writing. There's some things that should have been done differently. I'm not pretending this is perfect. Even just even if we were to talk about just from a relatively flawlessly executed film. It's not that, but everything is more than competent. Everything is, relatively well done. I don't disagree with your criticisms.
I have a real issue with the amount of leeway you're giving this film. And let me say my piece, and I'll make it like 30 words or less, and then you can tell me I'm wrong. But
okay.
Somebody get the counter.
I've got it.
This film comes from a franchise with tons of goodwill, tons of cachet, and I feel like, not to undermine your guys' points, but I feel like you're giving this movie more credit than it deserves because it comes from a beloved franchise and not really looking at it as a standalone piece, because I've done reviews, especially with you, Robert, before, and I've never seen you this easy on a film this bad.
I think, if I may, part of the problem that you and a lot of people might be having with this is that it does come from such a great franchise. Consequently, we compare it rather than necessarily look at it on its own merits.
That's fair.
That's true. It's like you and me, Robert. We're looking at it as a film on its own.
And
Mark, you're looking at it as the follow-up to Toy Story 3.
And which is why I phrased that the way I did. Again, if this is the only one of its kind, basically, sure, fine. Not great, not world breaking, not revolutionary, perfectly acceptable movie, well above average. As a part of this franchise,
this isn't even Minions good. Go ahead.
It's not that bad.
I would not agree with that.
Minions was better. Go ahead.
And I liked Minions, by the way, but I don't think I agree with that. But when you look at this as part of the franchise is where things really start to fall apart for it. Because all of the material that they really kind of hash out here, Woody's feeling displaced, the lost toys, the toys looking for purpose, etc., we've seen this already more than once, done better. And then we get to the conclusion, which is where things really fall apart for me personally. You're dealing with a character in Woody who at the end of this movie essentially goes against everything that he has done and said in the previous films. And he's not really given a concrete reason for doing so. Now again, there's reasoning. There's adversity he's facing, but nothing he hasn't faced before. This is a character who looked into as close to the literal mouth of hell as you're going to get in a kids movie. This is a character who has gone to the near ends of the earth, as far as the toy world goes, to help his friends and to keep them together because he knows that the purpose of a toy is to help. He knows what you're supposed to be doing, and he just nothing will. And he knows this, and I don't mean that in some kind of bizarre feeling he has. He knows this is my purpose. This is all of our purpose, and I'm going to do everything I can to make it the best experience for everyone. And he's had the crisis of faith. He's had the crisis of meaning. He's had the loss of friends and loved ones. This is not new. And if you want to tell the story of this finally being the breaking point, you do not adequately show his desperation as a massive failure of writing. To get Woody to essentially abandon his core ethos and his core reason for being, his telos even, rather than ethos, by the end of this movie, I'm sorry, you didn't earn it. And I think I phrased it like this to one of my friends. The ending of Toy Story 3 feels like a very bittersweet, but more sweet than bitter, farewell between people who love each other. But that's what it feels. But it is the closing of the chapter. But somewhere else the story is continuing. I mean, Woody's entire bit at the end of Toy Story 3, when Buzz kind of looks at him and goes, this one's going to grow up too. And he says, okay, but we'll deal with that when it comes, but we'll be together. Apparently nobody who wrote this movie bothered to read that. Or if you're going to get him to a point where that is no longer what he considers of paramount importance, you need to do it better than you did here. But again, the ending of 3 feels like that. Feels like, again, that bittersweet farewell, but maybe I'll see you down the road kind of thing. The ending of this feels like a funeral. And not just any funeral. And this is... I'm going to really try to get through this because this pushed some buttons for me. And I knew it as it was happening, what was being pushed. And let me be clear about this. Not the fault of the film. Again, I have issues with some of the writing and the characterization and how those characters have changed or not changed or should have been changed over time. This doesn't feel that farewell from them does not feel like, again, it does not feel like a farewell. It feels like, and not just a funeral, but like, I don't know if this has happened to any of you. It's happened to me. It felt like somebody being taken off life support. Oh, whoa. That hit harder than I thought.
Yeah, I think we're all going to need a moment here to collect ourselves after that one.
You want me to jump into the money so you can collect yourself?
No, I got to make this point.
You want me to
And-
I
pause
was
the
just-
recording?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
And I don't know to what extent that's on the writing and the filmmakers and what have you. I don't know to the degree they were inspired by that, to the degree they intended that. That's the vibe I got. And if you're, how do I say this? Woody and Buzz are one of those duos, you know? Ah, damn it. And if you're gonna, break up one of those really iconic duos, and I mean to the point where I'm not sure who else rises to the. I know they exist. Like I know there's other examples of a bond that these two shared and had forged over all that time. Again, they do exist. I can't think of any off the top of my head, so my bad. But if you're gonna break that up, that's another utterly unearned moment from this movie. Even if it makes total sense for both Buzz to know what's up, and then that hug they share was, heartbreaking.
That's why I'm praying that we don't deal with a Toy Story 5, because I don't want a Toy Story movie that we don't have those two together. I'm sure we could have stories about Woody's life now as a lost toy and his adventures with Bo Peep and the other characters. And I'm sure we can have adventures with Buzz still being Bonnie's toy. But I do not want to see a feature-length film without those two together.
No, I'm all in on Lotso's Revenge.
Oh, stop it.
Stop patting your child's ego.
No.
Yes, it's not healthy.
It's awesome.
And I think we touched a little bit on this, and this is a major fault in the writing. And if I have a concrete gripe about this movie, even taken on its own terms, it's as follows. The real appeal of this franchise, and again, I will get to this as far as taking it on its own terms in a minute, is not any one character. Because it's about the world. It's about all of them. It's about this, rich, dynamic tapestry of life that we just never get to see because, these are our toys. The entire supporting cast of the Toy Story movies is maybe not as important as, Woody and Buzz, but they still matter a lot. Rex matters. The Potato Heads matter. I mean, look at how much screen time, the Potato Heads get in Toy Story 3. I mean, Potato Head is the one who helps break everyone out of prison.
Heck, if you play Kingdom Hearts, the Keyblade from the Toy Story world in Kingdom Hearts 3 is a blend of Woody and Buzz's designs. It's actually one of the best Keyblades in the game. Really powerful.
If only Kingdom Hearts 3 had anything approaching narrative sense.
That's so a topic for another story or for another day.
Okay, for anyone out there, there's a video that's I think it's actually called a summary of Kingdom Hearts. it's all of them.
I tried.
And it's
playing...
it's well over an hour long.
I tried playing
it's about an.
I tried playing one of the Kingdom Hearts games. I think the first one that featured Disney characters. I got a nosebleed. I quit playing.
Look, the gameplay is largely good. The first one itself is fine. It's just after that things kind of start falling apart.
I say the second one was personally the best, but let's just admit it that the third one loses points because we had to sit through the Frozen song.
Ugh.
Hey, I
also
still
loses points for a complete lack of climactic villain battle.
I'll give you that. Hell, I'm still docking points off of Ralph Breaks the Internet that they play that song when Vanellope goes to the Disney website. I'm like, no, I want to enjoy this movie. I don't want to hear that song again.
We are fast approaching 2 hours just talking about
sorry.
the craft.
Okay, so hang on,
I think we can move on to the money.
Yeah, so,
Robert,
the last thing I want to say here is, again, part of the richness of this world is that all the characters matter, even if they're, again, somewhat in the background. Again, Rex still matters, Ham still matters, and this movie absolutely eschews them in favor of more time with Woody wandering around a carnival park. And it robs so much of the magic of what this franchise has brought to us to diminish. And again, I get that Potato Head, you were dealing with the circumstance of Don Rickles, being dead. And I mean, but Jim Varney died, and they were able to make it work.
Well, that was because they were able to hire an actor who had actually done work with Jim Varney, who was able to imitate his voice. Do you really think we could have found someone who could have properly given us what Don Rickles had?
Maybe enough of a facsimile that and again, they did a good enough job of blending the material they had. And so,
I give with Gilbert Godfrey.
Oh, stop it.
Well, he has paid his dues for the tsunami comments, so.
I'll give you, again, I give them a bit of a pass on.
Hilarious. I don't even care about it. I don't care about the Twitter stuff. Gilbert Godfrey is in like my top 30.
Does that mean that you didn't like Alan Tudyk taking over as Iago?
No, it's two separate beasts, literally.
No. Well, then Alan Tudyk, in my opinion, can do no wrong. I love him when he does voiceover work.
I mean, he does a lot of just great stuff generally. I can't remember that stupid horror comedy he was in, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. That was so great. Oh
yes.
Anyway, but again, there's no real standout supporting characters here, apart from maybe Kaboom, just because Keanu Reeves as the greatest Canadian is kind of hilarious. I mean, the rest of them just, apart from I might have been the only person in the theater who got the cameo when they go inside the pinball machine, because the bouncer at the door was that old tin type toy that was.
Yes! Oh my God! Yes, I got that.
Yeah, I think I was the only person in the theater who got it.
I got that. I had a VHS tape when I was young of the original 6 Pixar shorts.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
But they eschew a lot of the actual world building in favor of Woody coming to terms with being the personification of white guilt. He's around. I've had it so good, I must now give back to everyone else. And oh, God. And look, it's not to say that someone like Woody deciding that now his calling in life is going to be helping lost toys find homes couldn't have been made to work. It could have. It doesn't here. And the other reason that, since I talked about this movie kind of making Bonnie more unlikable, it has nothing to do with her being scatterbrained and losing crap. I don't care. That's accurate. That's kids. But the utter irrational fixation on Forky, and let me be clear about this. She thinks it's cool. Fair enough.
I know you have brothers, and maybe you're not remembering a time when one of them was fixated on the dumbest thing ever. But spend a week with Jonas.
No, I get that. But that thing would not have survived. It's not well constructed enough to survive.
That's fair. That's one of the things I always loved about Toy Story 3 is children are the worst when it comes to destroying things.
Yeah, I was good. How did Bonnie not rip those pipe cleaner arms off repeatedly?
If she rolls over that stupid thing in her sleep, it's just gone.
Yeah.
But then, and let me be clear, I'm not throwing shade at Bonnie as a character here. If she just wound up thinking that Woody wasn't cool and wasn't for her and was left in the closet. Okay, you know what? As a character, fine. That makes sense. I can live with it. But in the previous movie, you went out of your way to go with this massive passing of the torch kind of moment, and you set it up that way for the audience. That's how we perceived it. And again, fair enough if the kid doesn't, but then you don't get to pretend that we shouldn't be pissed about it. The fact that he was able to walk away from his kid, and you know what, and I mean this, the fact that I'm not entirely sure she even would have missed him, that really pisses me off.
You got to wonder what would happen if Andy, because we know that Andy's mother is friends with Bonnie's parents. What would happen if Andy came home from college one day and just totally coincidentally ran into Bonnie because, it's like his mom stops to talk to Bonnie's mom. It's like, so how are you liking those toys? Where's Woody? I don't know. Can you imagine what would happen to Andy if he found out that Bonnie just got rid of Woody? The toy that he was going to take with him to college?
I would have hoped that he had gotten laid by that point and wouldn't have cared.
You know what? I still have one of the stuffed animals from when I was born and got home from the hospital. And I still sleep with him every night, except when I'm on the road.
I have one thing from my childhood. I have a picture of Scrooge McDuck.
A picture?
Yeah, I have a framed poster of Scrooge McDuck in his money bank.
Fair enough.
And I still have it, but I gave it to Jonas. It's hanging in his room.
Fair enough. No, that's one of those things that, and I get that fine in terms of just the character, it makes sense, it can be rationalized for the character. I am deeply and profoundly pissed at every decision that was made by the writing staff to dismantle and completely undercut, again, basically the most perfect ending to a film and the most perfect conclusion to a trilogy that has ever been captured in whatever medium. You want to say digitally, on film, whatever the hell you want to say. You just basically pissed on it. And you know what? I'm really not happy with you guys about that.
All right. And with that said, here comes, after 2 hours, the money.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar.
I didn't even have the pretense of saying tonight, hey, this is going to be a short one. Men in Black was supposed to be a short one, and we went 2 hours on that, too, if I remember correctly. We can talk some shit about movies, can't we, Rob?
Yep.
For what it's worth, Robert, that was very well said. So I applaud you. I do.
Good for you, Binky. On a budget of $200 million, this thing so far has earned $258 million. Comparatively, track by track with the other movies, I'm not sure where this one ranks. It'll probably do $1 billion. I think the previous ones have, but only time will tell. It's not like it has a tremendous amount of animated, children's-oriented features to compete against. Its big competitor is probably Spider-Man Far From Home, and then after that, it's a lot of nothing.
Lion King.
Oh, yeah, shit, The Lion King. You're right. I take that back.
But that's also Disney, so it's like, so Disney is basically going to lose money to Disney.
Yeah, I was going to say...
It's only lost in the aggregate.
Well, I was going to say, Disney, apparently Disney's philosophy towards making motion pictures now is, they are the roulette wheel of motion pictures. They'll just cover the board, and, most of them might lose, but the ones that hit are going to hit big, and they're going to make billions of dollars. So there you go. With that said, I'm 99.9% certain it won the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was number for the week of June 21st to the 23rd. It debuted at number 1. Child's Play debuted at number 2. Aladdin, still kicking ass out there, stayed in the same spot in its 5th week at number 3. Men in Black dropped from 1 to 4. Mm-hmm.
That's rough.
The Secret Life of Pets. And I say again, now you've done it. Pickles is pissed. Dropped from 2 to 5. Rocket Man 4 to 6. John Wick jumped from 8 to 7. Go fig. Apparently,
it exists, and there were a bunch of people who didn't really want to see. You know what? Let's go see John Wick again. That was fun.
Hey, maybe it was people who said, you know what? Duke Kaboom was hilarious. Let's see Duke Kaboom with a gun.
It traded places, actually, with Godzilla King of the Monsters, which, despite all the talk of, maybe it's not doing that well, and maybe we'll delay
overseas,
Kong vs.
baby.
Godzilla. Yeah, it's doing just fine. It's perfectly adequate. Anna debuted at number 9. Dark Phoenix is already being pulled from theaters.
And nothing of any value was lost.
That dropped from 5 to 10. Shaft dropped from 6 to 11. Late Night 9 to 12. Avengers.
That's a hefty drop for Shaft, actually.
Yeah.
So Shaft got dropped down the shaft.
Avengers, which is about to get second life, and take down Avatar. Take down Avatar.
They only had to release DLC for the movie to do it.
I don't care.
For the record, that was a good joke, but okay.
I saw that on Twitter. I have to give credit where it's due. There's a streamer by the name of Admiral Baru, and he's the one I stole that from.
It's still a good joke.
Oh,
okay,
that's why I stole it.
Mark, I know you're going to go see it again. I'm going to go see it again. Robert, are you going to go see it again?
Probably not.
I'm actually taking both my kids this time. I took my daughter. I saw it by myself. Then I took my daughter. Now I'm taking both kids. No, I take that back. I'm only taking my son.
I don't know. I might. I'm on the fence about it. I'm not sure.
Go see it. Look, we all need to do our bit for God and country here. Take down Avatar. Take down Avatar.
Did you hear about Tom Holland getting roasted on a show because he revealed spoilers from Endgame and people took him over Twitter? It was like, how could you say that? Like,
shut up.
Yeah, it's like the movie's been out for 2 freaking months. If you haven't seen it yet, you either have no interest in seeing it, ergo shut up, or B, you're just an idiot.
The Dead Don't Die dropped from 12 to 14. Ma!
Really, only 2 places.
Ma!
I need to see The Dead Don't Die. I need to see if it's playing around here.
I will be so happy when Ma is out, so we could stop with that joke.
That will be nice.
Ma? From 11 to 15.
You sound like you were channeling Animal from the Muppet Show there.
No, that's I'm parodying a Family Guy joke. Peter, we're getting complaints around down the chicken. No, not
Mummy,
that one.
Mummy.
No,
Mummy,
not that bit.
Mark, he's not going to stop. Let it run its course.
No, the Roadhouse bit. You know, you can't solve all your problems by kicking. Roadhouse? All right. Pavarotti. Rose from 20 to 16. Bookshot 14 to 17. The Last Black Man in San Francisco 16 to 18. Pokemon Detective Pikachu. The most successful video game movie in the history of motion pictures, ladies and gentlemen.
Lowest hurdle ever jumped.
Congratulations, you're better than the filmography of Uwe Ball.
Dropped from 13 to 19. And finally, Echo in the Canyon. Echo. Rose from 21 to 20. Hot diggity. Next on the agenda is next week there's nothing. I mean, it's like Avengers. Or the big release next week is Yesterday. That's what's coming out on the 28th. So if you're into like indie flicks and Beatles, people will go see that, but it's like non-competitive with the big stuff that we talk about here.
If you're into the Beatles, you have failed at life.
Wait, what did you just say? I was about to ask if, because I think Annabelle, the third movie, is coming out. But Robert, you want to repeat what you just said?
He's
The
not a fan of the
Beatles
Beatles.
suck.
Yeah, just let it go.
Dude,
Every
good Lord.
cover of a Beatles song is superior to the original.
It's 11:30 at night. Please don't do this.
Robert, I took a course in London about the iconography of the Beatles. Okay?
No.
Oh, okay, hold on. No, I'm talking exclusively about the music. If you want to talk about, the art style and their covers and whatnot,
No,
fine.
iconography in the. Okay, you know what?
God, now
On
I'm
the
wishing for
grounds that I
cancer.
can hear. On the grounds that I can hear the Jigglypuff song in the background behind Mark's microphone. Let's move this along. I'm not going to get into this not on this show anyway.
All right, so July's got Spider-Man, Crawl, which is killer alligators in a Florida hurricane. God, I'm so sad. I'm gonna miss that. The Lion King, and then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So, we talked about Spider-Man, which is a joint Sony Disney jam, and then The Lion King, which is a whole Disney jam. I mean, Toy Story's got obviously some reasonable competition, but it doesn't have not a lot of animated stuff at this point in the summer. The next big animated feature, at least that I have on my calendar, is the Angry Birds movie, which my kids and I can't wait for that.
What are your kids' thoughts on the Trolls sequel trailer that came out this last week?
I refused to go see the Trolls movie originally. I was like, nope, this is too stupid even for me. I'm not doing it. Every girl I work with, and I work with a lot of nurses who have children, and they were all like, you got to see Trolls. It's the best thing ever. And I'm like, nope, not going to do it. Well, somebody heard that. There was an intern who's clearly now taken to spying on me at work and took that to Hollywood and said, so we got to get the middle-aged fat guy to the Trolls movie. How are we going to do it? Here he's got a metal podcast. That's the hook.
They're not even gonna. They have no balls. They're not going with metal. They're going. With
They are. Ozzy's in it. It's called Trolls World Tour.
It's Crazy Train.
Ozzy is the king of the rock realm. I actually looked up the voice actors.
I love this idea. First of all, it's an infinity guitar. It's like they're getting straws. They're getting strings from the different troll worlds because each world represents a genre of music. I fucking love this idea. They went into my brain and extracted the shit-tastic movie, and they put Ozzy in it and called it World Tour. I'm in. I'm 100% in.
I knew you would be.
So this is our world. The movie that's extracted from your brain is Trolls World Tour. The movie that's extracted from my brain is the Banana Splits horror film. Which, by the way, aren't we reviewing that in August?
Yes. It's. I don't know if. Hang on. Where did I write that into the calendar? Welcome to the Radulich and Broadcasting Schedule Cast.
We should do that once. We should have one thing a month where we just do the schedule for people.
I'd be curious to see how many people download it.
And then only do it the one time for the month.
And then watch it becomes our most popular show ever.
So everyone knows what to avoid.
When does that premiere?
End of August, I believe.
I thought I put it on the schedule.
1 banana, 2 banana, 3 banana, 4.
Yes, okay. So it's on the 27th. Yeah, we're recording it during the day because I'll still be on my hiatus on the 29th.
You know what? I've actually... Did either of you guys actually watch the Banana Splits when you were kids?
A little bit of it.
I actually found a music track from the Banana Splits show, Wait Till Tomorrow. I love that song. It's not a little kid song. It's a really good, just regular song.
Have you ever heard? Have you ever heard the Liz Phair cover of the Banana Split song?
I think we've brought this up before. No, I haven't.
You need to.
Yeah, but no, I was listening to Wait Till Tomorrow while I was working on Order State, and all I could think was, please tell me that this song's going to make it into that movie. I don't care what the context is.
All right, real quick, where we are with worldwide grosses. Avengers Endgame is at $2,751,000,000. I think it's got about $30 or so odd million to go. Hopefully, it'll make that in this weekend with the re-release. So
easily
beat Avatar. Aladdin is now the third most highest grossing movie with $815 million. It's eking its way towards $1 billion, and Disney presently owns the top 3. This is where we are in the world right now in terms of feature motion pictures. Disney owns the top 3 spots. The 4th spot is owned by a foreign movie out of China, and the fifth one's another animated feature. This is where we are, folks. This is why we get the movies that we get.
All hail the mouse.
I blame all of you for seeing these movies.
Detective Pokemon is at number 6. Alita Battle Angel still at number 7. Godzilla still hanging around at number 8 at $366 million. I believe it's now profitable, like just barely. Shazam is just under that with 363, and Dumbo still hanging out in the top 10. In one weekend, only one weekend, Toy Story has made it to number 12, just behind John Wick. So I would imagine it gets into the top 10 next week.
And you know what? Keanu Reeves is going to have a pretty good year.
No, for sure.
This is already the year of Keanu Reeves. Somebody actually made a meme where they took images from all the Disney movies showing the Disney princesses and their princes, and they drew over the Disney princes to make them all look like Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, they also
I would much rather, like, they just had, we'd turned, John Wick loose on the Disney universe.
Terrific.
I'd rather he just murder his way through all the Disney IPs.
All right, let's move this along. Here we go.
But I just gotta know one thing. Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
That was 2 buttons because I'm on a new thing here. All right, this is like 98% fresh, so this is like very few rotten reviews. So I'm just going to read some of my favorites.
Go for it.
Anthony Lane of New Yorker.
Why? Just why is that still a thing?
Just because he wanted to piss you off.
No, I mean, why is the New Yorker a thing?
Cooley's film Quickens and Deepens.
No.
Quickens and deepens?
That's barely a point, and if whatever point you're trying to make is probably wrong.
I get the feeling that that's one of those critics that writes something because he wants a chance to be put on the poster or on the back of the DVD box or something. So he writes something that's quick and memorable. I think it's like, that'll fit right there with when they talk about what the critics say.
Matthew Rosa of Salon.com.
Why?
There we go. The latest installment.
Right for a shitty rag.
And now Robert's back to normal.
The latest installment, Toy Story 4, is perhaps the bleakest and most beautiful of them all.
Oh, shut the No.
I love it when you almost curse. Gives me the feels.
You know what? Most beautiful, I don't know if I will say this, but you can't knock on Pixar animation. They have yet to produce an ugly... You can talk about which movies of Pixar you think are the best or the worst, but even the movies from Pixar that you think are the worst, like Cars 2, was still a gorgeous film to look at. So...
Yeah, Cars 2 is the only one I might say didn't look all that great, but when you say it's beautiful, I'm going to assume he means in totality and not just visually. If he's only talking about the visuals, yes, this is a gorgeous movie to look at. 100%.
Again, it's Pixar animation. No matter what crap they give us, it's always going to be polished.
It's going to look darn good. But no, the other point about the bleakest? How is this the bleakest?
And following our cavalcade of shills paid to give good reviews to Disney, and Adam, I gotta go to bed. Adam Graham of Detroit News,
I can't look. You live in Detroit. I'm not going to crap talk you. That's bad enough.
Finding your purpose, embracing your destiny, and accepting your mortality are mature themes for a children's film, but Toy Story 4 handles them nimbly, while still managing to be a colorful family adventure.
No. There is no nimbleness here. Let me be clear about that.
Didn't he just describe the plot line of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic?
Probably. Didn't he also describe the plot line of, the first Toy Story movie, or the third Toy Story movie, or the second Toy Story movie, all of which were better than this one?
Yeah. Again, we've established that none of us have, regardless of which one of us hates this movie, which one of us likes this movie, I think we're all in agreement. Just go watch the first trilogy again.
This movie offers nothing that the others did not, and they offered it better. Like, they did it better.
You know what? It didn't even give us a short film.
Yeah,
I know. I was kind of pissed.
My wife was pissed off about that. So her theory is that this began in life as a short film.
Probably.
And then like the accountants got a hold of it. We're like, no, this needs to be a feature, and they just said, "Fuck it."
Well, that's not the worst. That's not the worst theory here.
That kills me a little bit because Toy Story 3 not only is my favorite of the trilogy, but it has, in my opinion, the absolute greatest short film that Pixar has ever given us, Day and Night.
Day and Night's up there. It's not my favorite of theirs, but it's darn good.
What's your favorite Pixar short?
Oh, God.
Depends on what that made me cry uncontrollably was the I want to say there was like an island one.
The lava one?
Yeah.
Yeah. The one where the island is a person that's been a volcanic island is given life kind of thing.
Yeah, it's singing a love song to another island that will never turn and face it.
Yeah, I think I cried uncontrollably during that and like needed to compose myself before the movie started.
That was a good one. If I want to laugh at the Pixar shorts, it's that one with the birds on the telephone wire.
Oh, that's a good one. Although I hate to say, the one that makes me laugh the hardest is Mike's new car.
That's if you just want to laugh, it's hard to go wrong there. If I want to, I think my favorite, and let me be clear,
the one with the baby and the dog also got me emotionally.
That was a good one.
Oh, is that Feast? The one about the dog that keeps getting food? That's not. I don't think that's Pixar. That's a Disney animated short, but I don't think that was released as a Pixar short.
Oh, if you think I can keep track of this stuff.
But no, okay, I will give you that regardless. That is a brilliant short, and I love it.
I think the one that I can't remember who did the short about the dog and the cat. I don't think it was Pixar. No, it might have been. It might have been the one that had a Coco, the like pit bull that's supposed to be a fighting dog, and the lonely and the beleaguered alley cat that kind of befriends it. But the one
I don't remember that one.
I might be misremembering.
Your grandfather's calling.
My favorite one is probably, and just because it's so absolutely brilliant, beautifully animated, is the one about the baby bird on the ocean shore, Piper.
Oh my God, that is so beautiful to look at.
That is, I watched that in utter disbelief at what it looked like. It was so beautiful.
Robert Winfrey's spiritual grandfather, Joe Morgenstern.
Oh God, die already!
Of the
you had to find some way to get him from talking about this amazing, beautiful, moving bit of animation, and you found a way to shut him up.
I didn't want to end the podcast before I had to go to work. At 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. The new film isn't flawless, but it's hugely enjoyable and speaks with bewitching buoyancy to nothing less than the purpose of living and the mystery of life.
Ugh, I hate you. I mean, again, I have to question whether or not he didn't see the previous movies, all of which also did kind of deal with the same thing. Are we all just fixated on Forky here? Is that like Forky came into being and all of a sudden, wow, this deals with your crisis, with the purpose of life and finding meaning in new things. As though this wasn't done in Toy Story 1, you bunch of jackasses.
Well, so you mentioned Sporky stealing the show. Pete Hammond of Deadline Hollywood Daily.
Okay, you should not. Don't even read it. This person deserves no credibility. None. Not even me crapping on them.
Good for you. Woody and the gang are back in a sublime sequel that gets stolen by a spork named Forky. Pixar just keeps topping itself.
I've known some shills in my time, buddy. I have known some shills. I have seen Mark shill for Podcoin.
And you will again.
I have seen Alexis shamelessly repeat the catchphrase of her business. I don't mean that as a shot, by the way, just for the record.
Oh, God.
You're here, you're supposed to do it. I have seen I have listened to Jim Ross wax excitedly poetic about Skittles to open Monday Night Raw. For those of you who remember those days.
He's heard Conrad talk endlessly about dick pills.
No, I haven't.
But he does.
I'll take your word for it. I have heard Stone Cold Steve Austin shamelessly plug his crappy direct-to-DVD movies and his ranch with the rats that chew up his electrical equipment.
Vince, I got these rats.
But until this day, Hollywood Deadline Snotfest, whatever the fuck you write for, I have never seen something like you.
Rachel,
if you get the bit I ripped off there, more power to you.
Rachel Leishman of the Mary Sue. Come on, give it to me.
Didn't we talk about this? I almost called it a rag, but you know what? I'm going to stick with it. Didn't we talk about this terrible outlet last week?
Again, I'm purposely reading from the Mary Sue just because I love when you make fun of it. Toy Story 4 is maybe the perfect conclusion to this series.
Shut up.
You and everyone who looks like you is terrible. I don't even know what you look like.
You have brought shame to every one of your ancestors and every one of your descendants with that crap. You will be disowned so fast by everyone who potentially is related to you. They're going to take 23andMe tests. They're going to see your name there, and they're going to try to genetically purge themselves.
And speaking of people endlessly shilling for Disney, this one was clearly given copy to just extract from and put into her own review. Annie Bundle of NBC News Think, and Think is in all capital letters. Everyone gets time to tell their story. Whether it's Duke Kaboom or Buzz Lightyear, everyone has their moment in the spotlight.
No, they don't. You are factually incorrect. You are just straight up inaccurate to the time allotted to each character throughout the runtime of this movie. You didn't even see it. Or you're just such an unbelievable hack. You'll cash the check and write whatever Disney puts in front of you. You suck. You should be ashamed of yourselves. You are bereft of integrity, and I really do not even wish God to have mercy on your soul.
Are you off the soapbox yet?
No, that's the
I
entire
literally
bit.
just had to check Skype to see if she was still with us.
I have to be on the soapbox for this bit. That's the whole bit.
Sorry, you two started prattling on. I decided to go check my registry in Wizards Unite.
I get that.
It's a better use of time than listening to me. I get it.
Hey, this game is addictive. I'm enjoying it.
Let's see here. We'll do one or two more of these, and then we'll call it a night. Let's see if we can find some of my favorites. Buzz
got to tell his story. No! He got to play around with the buttons on his chest.
Matthew Frew Film. I don't know what that is.
Self-employed bastard.
A majestic epilogue.
Shut up.
No, the majestic epilogue was the mid-credits sequence from Toy Story 3.
Darn right it was.
Ed Whitfield of the Ooh Tray.
Oh, God.
Another one of my favorites.
This again.
It provides a resolution for all the toys. No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It just straight up doesn't.
Which, though predicated on the same ideas as previous films, namely each toy finding their purpose, gives that theme expression in a way that feels more individuated to the characters and satisfying.
So what you mean to say is we spent a lot of time with one character and I could actually process my emotion. I could actually process things this time. You goldfish.
Matt Brunson of Creative Loafing, this douchebag and his douchebag rag.
I love that there's some of these that you just do that bit for me now, and I'm so grateful.
Toy Story 4 is entertaining and eager to please, but what it's lacking in gravitas of the previous three pictures.
Please say it makes up for an entertainment value.
There's a period here. I'm not even sure what he's.
That's not even a conclusion.
Not a sentence.
That's not a thought.
Wait, hang on. Toy Story 4 is entertaining and eager to please, comma, but what it's lacking is the... Okay, I put the inflection in the wrong place. But what it's lacking is the gravitas of the previous three pictures. Is it time to put a Forky in the franchise?
please tell me you just ad-libbed that and that's not actually written there?
Didn't.
Son of a bitch. That's the... What? Oh, God, that is such bad writing. Oh, my God, that is so bad. That is so stupid. That is so profoundly stupid. My brain short-circuited. What the...
I think we're done. I think we can put the forky in this podcast. Tell me you hate me, Robert. Tell me you hate me and I'll love you forever.
I want to fly to Florida and stab you with about 30,000 plastic sporks.
It'd only be less than the amount of times I get fucking poked by a nurse these days at Moffitt. All right.
I hope your bone marrow biopsy fails again.
Because my ass is too big and the needle's too short.
I don't care. I don't care why. I don't care why. I want you to have to go through that again after that line.
And on that note, Alexis, I hear you have a company that sells stuff.
I was mostly just staying out of the way while you two were threatening to kill each other. I'm goofing around on Facebook and I'm saying, ooh, Audrey Plaza wore a hair barrette that looks like a butcher knife to the premiere of Child's Play. I want that.
That does sound cool.
That is actually a really cool accessory.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can find the source of where she got that from.
Anyways,
Honeysuckle Rose Creation. Sadly, we do not make hair barrettes that look like butcher knives.
Yet.
We make jewelry out of recycled game pieces. We have our Scrabble tile hair barrettes. We have our charm bracelets made of Monopoly and Clue pieces. We have our earrings made of Legos. We are.
Oh my God! I saw the most lavish Clue board game at the house I'm working at. Oh my God!
Steal the tokens for me and we'll talk.
I can't. I can't. I would get so no. That they're worth more than I'm getting paid. It's like a box, and it's like a miniature like dollhouse level floor, and with a glass case.
Xanax and let her finish.
See, all I could think is thinking, ooh, can you steal the tokens for me? See, this is why my friends won't play Scrabble with me because they know that if I do, I'm going to start stealing the pieces. Anyways, we are next going to be appearing at Tokyo in Tulsa. That is one of the biggest shows we have for the year. Really looking forward to it. We have another show coming up after that. This is going to be interesting. We have been invited to a Kansas City Nerd Burlesque Festival.
Wow.
That sounds amazing.
This is our first time doing something like that. I am really intrigued. I was invited by a woman who goes by the stage name, if I got this right, Annie Mae Allure. So I am very intrigued by what we're going to do with this. Kind of racking my brains. I'm going to actually be talking with Miss Allure about some ideas for some new pieces maybe that we can premiere with this. This is not a demographic I have worked with before, but I am very excited.
You could totally do, you could totally do like geek related like nipple pasties.
You know what I could, but I honestly don't know how to make them.
Nerd. God damn.
On a side note, I don't know how to make those. I would have to go find. Do you think there's a YouTube tutorial on how to make those?
If there isn't,
clubs and porn,
hold on.
Please don't.
If there is not a YouTube instructional on that, the internet has failed us.
Okay, fair enough.
You're not allowed to say pasties if you don't know how to pronounce it, you fucking dork.
Okay, so yes, we got that coming up. So I am currently working on some new pieces. We're also working on a couple of new sets. I'm actually very proud of this. We are going to have Pride flag pins and hair barrettes. I've been very inspired by the colors of the various Pride flags. I want to have some fun with that. You know, I am straight, but I'm a sucker for rainbows. So working on that right now.
Almost like those colors make up the totality of our spectrum of vision.
I totally went with you should somehow merge that with Rainbow Bright stuff.
You know what? I've actually been wanting to make a Rainbow Bright thing because one of our biggest sellers, I am not kidding, is our Care Bears bracelet.
Dude, word up. Go.
That surprises no one.
Co-opt Rainbow Bright is a gay icon. If it hasn't been already, I'm sure it'll be fine.
It has already.
Aw, damn it.
Yeah. You know, somebody actually threw a fit because somebody wants to co-opt the Rainbow Batman comic as gay pride, and they're like, that's not what the comic was intended for.
I don't know.
Have you guys read the Rainbow Batman comic? It's bizarre. And if they want to go after for gay pride, I don't care. So, but yeah, either way, yeah. So, Honeysuckle Rose Creations. Wow, this has been the most like
tangential.
Most like diverted plug I've ever given on this show. I feel like I am coming out with a severe case of AD shiny.
You've been around us enough. You've been infected. Congratulations.
Yay! Does that mean that I'm finally getting healthcare benefits out of you?
Robert, what fights are you doing this
Okay, no, Honeysuckle Rose Creations. We got stores on Etsy, Handmade at Amazon. Again, Tokyo and Tulsa, and the KC Nerdlesque Festival coming up at the end of July. You can find us on Facebook, Etsy, and Instagram. Honeysuckle Rose Creations, the intersection of geek and chic.
All right, so we've had some changes in the schedule this week because I am currently at my in-laws. So we had to change a few things around. So tomorrow night, instead of the Metal Hammer of Doom, you're going to get Black Mirror Season 5. Here, Jesse and I talk for 2 hours on the nature of cheating and marital relationships and what constitutes masturbation and what doesn't. And then eventually we get around to Miley Cyrus. So
who doesn't want to hear that? I'll say, who doesn't want to hear that?
We went fucking deep on this one, man. Literally like almost 2 hours on just the Anthony Mackie episode of Black Mirror. And then it was like the other two then the other two ones happened. But yeah, more on fucking in the Street Fighter game. If you haven't seen it, whatever. So, earlier this week, we did a source material. It was Heroes in Crisis. Here, a gaggle of us tell Tom King he's a big pansy. And then finally, again, more content changes here. Instead of doing Amon Amarth, Cooper is not available to record on Thursday. It's one of his favorite bands. So we're going to push it to a little bit later in July. And instead, we're going to move up Upon a Burning Body, Southern Hostility. Check out the Radulich and Broadcasting Metal Hammer of Doom Extra for Bad Motherfucker, or their mock-up of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air video, which is hilarious. Next week, it's all Jessica Jones all the time. We got Jessica Jones Volume 2, The Secrets of Maria Hill. A lot of fun jokes made at Maria Hill's expense on that one, so check that out. That's just me and Jesse dicking around for about a half an hour. Then, against his will, Robert and I will review Jessica Jones Season 3 TV Party.
I'm praying for injury.
I'm saying you're praying for either injury or for the cancer to take speed.
I don't need the cancer to take speed. Let me be clear about this. I just need something medically to happen to Mark to where he can't record, because then I will not do this.
No, I start chemo the next day, man. If I started chemo on the 2nd instead of the 3rd, you might have gotten your way. But I don't know, man.
Okay, please, Moffitt Cancer Center, bump Mark up.
And frankly, you should be. You know what? If you actually had balls, you'd be praying for the injury to take for yourself.
Oh no, I am. I'm going to be moving more heavy crap tomorrow. I'm tempted to drop something on myself.
And then on Wednesday, once again, we're gonna push Amon Amarth back, and instead, everyone look at my glory hammer. We're gonna talk about it on the Metal Hammer of Doom. Glory hammer, legend.
Walrus purr.
Legends from Beyond the Galactic Terradome, or whatever the hell it's called. Glory Hammer, that's what I like to call it.
And in fairness, in the past, regarding Jessica Jones, I have said to Mark, can I get cancer for a week?
Check out our reviews of Gotham Central Volume 1, Men in Black, the new Rammstein album, and we made contact with our leader, Ronnie Adams. We did a Screaming Boy podcast on toxic fandoms that went 97 hours.
How have the numbers been for that? Hang on, I have to look that up now.
Go ahead and subscribe to us on Podcoin. Don't waste your time listening to podcasts when you can get paid to listen to podcasts. You can get paid to listen to my podcast. That's what you needed. All right. Podcoin, everybody. PODCOIN. Download the app on your mobile device. Subscribe to the
Holy
Broadcast
crap.
Network.
Your Gotham Central review has 116 downloads.
Because literally, once it was acknowledged that it was claimed, that was the newest podcast. So we're a hot podcast right now on Podcoin. You get double points for listening to us. And at that time that just happened, that had just come out that day. So That's the one that everybody
Yeah,
saw.
our Toxic Fandoms thing has 33 downloads and 10 live plays. Nice. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. So, like I said, whatever, if you're listening to it on iTunes or Spotify, you're just giving away money, man. You could be earning money listening to the same podcast on Podcoin. All right, take me home, Daddy-O.
All right, last Sunday I recorded a solo episode of the 411 Ground and Pound radio show. Jeff Harris is either completely dodging me or and I don't think he is. He got sick over the last weekend and his voice was trashed, which sucks. We've all been there. So there's a review up for UFC Greenville. Surprisingly good night of fights, all things considered. Nothing that's really going to stick out, I think, too much longer from now, but there was only one kind of boring fight on the card, and the rest of it was, at a bare minimum, watchable. And you know what? That's not something I can say all that often these days, so yay. There's also a preview for the upcoming UFC on ESPN 3 event that will take place in Minneapolis this Saturday. It's Junior Dos Santos and Francis Ngannou battling it out for probably a title shot, because Brock Lesnar done took his ball and went home when he realized, boy, the pay structure really sucks here now that pay-per-view's behind a paywall. You're not wrong, Brock. And the UFC doesn't really have another heavyweight contender lined up after Cormier and Miocic, too. So there's a preview of that whole event. It's a pretty good event on paper, which probably means it's going to suck in practice because such is life. So you can listen to that this coming Sunday. Jeff should be back, and we'll review that. We'll also preview the UFC 239 card. Really good card. I'm waiting for the bottom to drop out of it because it's International Fight Week, and something always happens to either the co-main event or the main event on that card. The last, 4 years in a row. Kind of cursed. And they put John Jones in the main event, so if that holds together, boy, somebody's going to cash a prop bet on that one. So, you'll get a full preview of that event next week. And yeah, I'll have coverage in the MMA Zone of 411mania.com for this Saturday for the UFC on ESPN 3 event. And Mark will be watching it from the hospital, sort of, apparently. Because Mark loves him some big men punching each other in the face.
Hell yeah. All right, folks, that's it. This has been a long podcast, but we hope you enjoyed it. It was a good conversation. Appreciate Alexis Hano. Always appreciate Rob Winfrey. And with that said, be well, be safe, and behave.
Dunkin' has a whole new line of handcrafted signature lattes. Blueberry Crisp, Caramel Craze, and Cocoa Mocha. They're so delicious, you'll realize that you've been spending a whole latte time drinking the wrong coffee. So even though you've been together for years, it's time to say goodbye to your ex, Coffee Place. Because you've got a latte love for Dunkin's signature lattes. Sipping is believing with Dunkin's new handcrafted signature lattes, like Blueberry Crisp, Caramel Craze, or Cocoa Mocha. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer.
With Dunkin' Go-Tos, you can get a great deal on 2 of your favorites, like 2 egg and cheese wraps for $2, 2 bagels with cream cheese spread for $4, and 2 bacon, egg, and cheese croissants for $5. In my opinion, it's a deal that's pretty tough to beat. That's just if you want my go-to cents. If you don't want my go-to cents, it's go too late. Dunkin' Go-Tos, a great deal for $2, $4, or $5. America runs on Dunkin'. Participation may vary. Limited time offer. Exclusions apply.